Chapter 961. Are we going down to see Xianxia now? Tang Xiaoxi asked. No. Lin Muyu shook her head and said, we agreed to keep it a secret. Look at the streets, the prefectural governor's men are already there to welcome us. If we go down to see Yao, we will definitely be recognized. I don't want Qinyu, Gong Shangming, Duola, and the others to know that we have also come to Tianji Empire. And then when are we going to see? A little later. We will wait for Yao to come find us. To everyone's disappointment, Jing Nan didn't come back to seek revenge. He didn't come back even after Lin Muyu and the others had finished their meal and left the restaurant. It seemed like Shiping City really didn't have many soldiers left. After returning to the relay station, they didn't rest but continued to cultivate. In order to become stronger, Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi didn't slack off for even a single day. They each cultivated their own laws of laws. Lin Muyu's cultivation of the Supreme Godhead was slow, but Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi's cultivation had made significant progress. One had the Overgod Godhead, while the other had the Immortal Godhead. The power of light and fire had become more profound, which was gratifying. A sparkling Godhead slowly rotated in his palm, turning into strands of divine power that surrounded the three of them. This Godhead came from Bailey Qin, so it was easy to imagine how pure a God Emperor's Godhead was. If it was cultivated by one person, it would be impossible to completely refine it. Fortunately, Lin Muyu was used to cultivating with Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi. Therefore, the three of them could refine and absorb the power of the Godhead together, which made this Godhead much more valuable. But even so, the powerful divine power contained in the Godhead couldn't be completely refined in 1 or 2 tries. In the past half a month, the three of them had been refining it constantly, but this Godhead still had about half of its spiritual power stored. Slowly, after they finished cultivating, they still had Han Shu and Baiming Huan's Godheads to refine. As for Fu Yu and the others' Godheads, they had already given them to Feng Jixing, Wei Chou, and Situ Senator. As for Fu Yu and the others' Godheads, they had already given them to Feng Jixing, Wei Chou, and Situ Senator. After an unknown period of time, a voice suddenly appeared in Lin Muyu's EC. Big brother Yu, are you still there? Lin Muyu replied, Yao, I'm on the 2nd floor, room number 1. Okay, I'll be right there. Lin Muyu stood up and said, Xiao Yin, Xiao Shi, Yao is here. The two beauties immediately tidied up their clothes. This was their first official meeting with Xianxia, so they had to be formal and dignified. They didn't want others to think that the Shattered Cauldron Realm's great Empress and Princess Funguo were too vague. Creak. The room door opened and Xianxia, dressed in martial attire, stood at the door. She looked at Lin Muyu with a smile and said, Long time no see. Long time no see. To Lin Muyu's surprise, Xianxia threw herself into his arms and said with a bell-like smile, Big brother Yu, I missed you so much. You're finally back. Shu. Behind them, Lu Bai and the 7 or 8 high-ranking generals of the Bai Zhe mercenary team gasped in unison. All along, Xianxia, the true owner of the Bai Zhe mercenary team, had always been swift and decisive. Everyone thought that this lass was already a tomboy, but at this moment they realized that she was actually a young lady. At this moment, Xianxia blinked her big eyes and saw that there were 2 devastatingly beautiful women behind Lin Muyu. She was stunned and broke away from Lin Muyu's embrace. These 2 are. Qin Yin smiled and said, I'm Qin Yin. Tang Xiaoxi said, Tang Xiaoxi. Immediately, Xianxia's face turned red. She looked at Lin Muyu with a blaming look and said, Why didn't you tell me that the Empress and Princess Xi are here? Ooh. It's so embarrassing. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile and said, You didn't ask. It's all your fault. Xianxia hurriedly bowed and said, Yao pays her respects to the 2 sisters-in-law. When she said this, Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi were instantly elated. This form of address sounded so comfortable. Lin Muyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She said, Come in, it's travel-worn outside. Yes. Lu Bai walked in with a group of generals. Then he knelt on one knee and said, Greetings, Your Highness Yu. Greetings, Your Highness Yin and Princess Xi. Get up. There's no need to be so polite. Lin Muyu raised her hand and everyone stood up. Lin Muyu could also see that there were 3 Saint Martial Venerables among this group of generals. Xianxia was indeed skillful. The combat power of the Bai Zhe mercenaries was extraordinarily strong. Bai, how are you? Lin Muyu asked with a smile. I'm fine. Thank you for your concern, Your Highness. Oh, I'm not your highness anymore. There's only one highness in the Qin Empire now, and that's Zhou Xian. My current position is the marshal of the 3 armies and the commander of the Longdan army camp. Longdan army camp. One of the young generals said, is it the Longdan army camp that defeated the Flowing Dawn army, the Long Dawn army and the Tsangyan army? Yes. Lin Muyu nodded. The young general's eyes were burning. Marshal, the Longdan army camp not only shocked the Broken Cauldron world, but it's also famous all over the world. Everyone in the entire Celestial Pole continent knows the name of the Longdan army camp. Everyone says that in terms of combat power, the Longdan army camp is worthy of being the #1 army in the world. Lin Muyu smiled and said, there's no need to be envious of the Longdan army camp. The Bai Zhe mercenaries are also an army established by me, Lin Muyu. Every one of you is equivalent to a member of the Longdan army camp. Sooner or later, the Bai Zhe mercenaries will join forces with the Longdan army camp. Really? Yes. That's great. All the generals were overjoyed. After all, the reputation of mercenaries didn't sound so good. Just by hearing it, one would know that they were people who exchanged their lives for money. However, the Longdan army camp was different. Every soldier with a sense of honor would feel honored to join an army like the Longdan army camp. At this moment, Si Kongyao said, Brother Yu, why are you all staying here? Follow me to the city lord's residence. I've already obtained the seal of Shiping City. From now on, Shiping City and the entire Xishan province are ours. Why are you all staying in such a small place? No need. Lin Muyu shook her head and said, this time I don't plan to show my face in public. I'll keep as low a profile as possible. Don't let anyone know that I'm in the Celestial Pole continent. I'll give advice and suggestions to the Bai Zhe mercenaries. Don't worry, Yao. Yes, that's good too. Si Kongyao pondered for a moment and said, we'll probably set off for East Com City after resting for a day or 2. Why don't we do this? Brother Yu and my 2 sisters-in-law change into the clothes of the strategists and move with the army? The people of the Celestial Empire will only pay attention to how many warhorses and elite soldiers we have. They won't care how many strategists we have. Yes, that's good too. The heavy snow was still falling. Suddenly, a violent voice came from downstairs. Brat, get out here. Your grandpa Jingnan is here to settle the score with you. Jingnan. Lu Bai was stunned. Isn't that the nephew of the prefectural governor Jing Shou? What is he doing here? He's here to settle the score with me. Lin Muyu smiled helplessly. Ti Kongyao was confused. How did brother offend someone like him? I can't help it. Your 2 sisters-in-law are too beautiful. Lin Muyu laughed out loud. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi blushed. They didn't know how to respond. Lu Bai clenched his fists and said, who cares? Lin General, you wait here. I'll go down and deal with this brat first. Shiping City is now our world. How long does he think he can do anything? There's no hurry. I'll go and take a look. I don't want him to hurt the innocent. Yes. Lin Muyu pushed open the door and jumped into the courtyard. She floated down with the snowflakes and saw torches in front of her. This time Jingnan had brought a lot of people with him. There were at least 50 of them, and they were all dressed in military uniforms. Many of them were the guards of the prefecture. The strongest one could even condense the king's fighting flame. Brat, you have guts. Jingnan fiercely pulled out his sword and pointed it at Lin Muyu. He said, don't you know whose territory you're in? How dare you be so arrogant? You're simply courting death. Guards, this man is a human trafficker. According to the laws of the Tianji Empire, he should be executed immediately. Kill him and find the 2 innocent women. Yes. A group of guards pulled out their weapons and stepped forward. Jingnan's eyes were full of pride. Where's your arrogance? Aren't you very good at fighting? I'd like to see how you can defeat my 100 elite guards. Lin Muyu furrowed her brows. At this time, Si Kongyao's voice came from upstairs. Guards, surround him and disarm. Rustle, rustle, rustle. The sound of footsteps was endless. Countless Bai Zhe mercenaries rushed out from every corner of the inn, the sides of the street and the alleys. They raised their torches and pointed their bows at Jingnan's people. In the blink of an eye, they surrounded the 100 people. Lu Bai and a group of captaincy also pulled out their swords and surrounded Lin Muyu, pointing at Jingnan and his people. Under the shining light of the torches, the 3 golden stars on the necks of Lu Bai and the other generals were very bright. In the celestial pole land, A person with a 3-star military rank was a lieutenant of at least 5,000 people. This also meant that the status of this group of people was higher than Jing Nan. Moreover, there were more than a dozen of them. What kind of lineup was this? Lin Muyu smiled lightly. With these people I can afford to offend you, right? Jing Nan seemed to be petrified for a moment. What's going on? Si Kongyao descended from the sky. Jing Nan immediately knelt down. Greetings, eldest Miss Si Kongyao. Si Kongyao said coldly, what is young Master Jing Nan doing here in the middle of the night? I didn't know eldest Miss was also here. I just came to find a human trafficker? Human trafficker. Si Kongyao sneered. There are no human traffickers here, only distinguished guests. Guards, disarm and throw Jing Nan into the dungeon. He will be sentenced to 1 year. The reason is, he offended me. The rest of you become Bai Zhe mercenaries and follow me into battle. Yes. Jing Nan's face was ashen. He looked at Lin Muyu from afar. Only then did he understand that the youth in front of him was not someone he could afford to offend. As for the 2 beautiful women, how should he put it? In this world, those stunning beauties that could cause the downfall of a city and country were generally not people that ordinary people could touch. Although it was cruel, this was the truth. Chapter 962. On the 5th of December the sky cleared up. Bai Zhe's 180,000 mercenaries left Shiping City in a grandiose manner, leaving less than 5,000 people to defend the city. At the same time they took 10,000 soldiers from Shiping City to serve as backup troops. Lin Muyu, Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi were mixed in with the strategists. They had all changed into black robes. All the strategists were hidden in the dark, which was why they wore black robes. They never showed their faces to others. However, a sword hilt wrapped in black cloth protruded from Lin Muyu's cloak, making people feel somewhat stifled. Even though she was a strategist who could fight. She wasn't weak like the others. Si Kongyao rode alongside Lin Muyu. The army passed by in a grandiose manner. The armored cavalry opened the way and the grain carriages escorted the rear. As they were fighting on their own, there was no need to bring too much rations. After entering East Kham province, the local government would prepare rations for the army. The cold wind howled, causing the war flag to flutter. Si Kongyao narrowed her beautiful eyes and said, Brother Yu, we just received news that Qin Yu's army has surrounded East Kham City. Gong Shangming has led nearly 300,000 troops to defend East Kham City. There are also nearly 200,000 scattered troops outside. Qin Yu has 500,000 troops surrounding the city. What should we do? If we attack from the inside and outside, we might have a chance of winning. Doesn't Qin Yu still have nearly 400,000 troops that he hasn't used? These 400,000 troops can attack us at any time. If we really go to help them, I'm afraid we'll become their main target. Lin Muyu smiled faintly. Besides, Yao Yu and Bai worked hard to raise our 180,000 troops. This time, I don't plan on letting your 180,000 troops join the main battle. We're not fighting the main battle. Si Kongyao was shocked. Even Lu Bai was stunned. Lin General, if we don't fight head-on, how can we defeat the enemy? Qin Yu's million-strong army isn't paper. They can be blown away with a single breath. If we don't bleed them, I'm afraid they won't know how powerful they are. It's impossible for them to retreat from East Kham province. I know. Let's talk after we enter East Kham province. Have we sent out our scouts? They've been released. Give me a detailed map of Qin Yu's army's distribution and supply routes within 3 days. Yes. Tang Xiaoxi leisurely rode on her horse as she looked at the scenery on both sides. With Lin Muyu overseeing the Bai Zhe mercenaries, she didn't need to worry about anything. After all, Lin Muyu had fought in wars for so many years. She was talented enough to be the master of the generals in the Heaven Pole continent. As long as Lin Muyu wanted to win, it was impossible for her to not win. Qin Yin would also secretly open her eyes of blazing dawn to look at the surrounding scenery from time to time. She had already learned to control the domain power of the eyes of blazing dawn. Although she hadn't reached the point where she could control it freely, she was able to open her eyes and no longer launch indiscriminate pressure attacks. At the very least, when she wasn't hostile, the people around her wouldn't feel too much pressure. So the snowy scenery in the Heaven Pole continent is also so beautiful, Qin Yin whispered. Lin Muyu also lowered her voice and chuckled. Yes, but Xiao Yin, don't worry. Sooner or later, every inch of this land will belong to us. and the entire Heaven Pole continent will also be included in our Great Teens version. Qin trembled slightly. Brother, have you really decided to go on an expedition across the sea? Yes, but we still need some time. At most 3 years, at least 1 year. We need to make sufficient preparations before we can make a decision. Lin Muyu looked straight at her and said. Xiao, do you think I've changed? Yes, a little, Qin nodded. If it was in the past, brother, you most likely wouldn't take the initiative to attack others. There's no other way. If we attack first, we'll be controlled by others. Lin Muyu heaved a sigh of relief, her gaze deep as she said, when I know that the opponent will deal a fatal blow, I can't be soft-hearted anymore. I don't want the people I care about to die one by one and leave me. Yes, Xiao will do her best to support you. After we're unified, let's ascend. Brother Demon Emperor and Fairy Xiao in East Heaven will definitely look forward to our ascension. After that, our names will be listed in the Heaven Realm's Immortal Register. Yes. 3 days later, it started snowing again. The army finally entered Eastcom province and was less than 500 kilometers away from the battlefield in Eastcom city. However, Lin Muyu instructed Si Kongyao to pass down an order not to rush to Eastcom city at full speed. Instead, they would rest once a day in the provinces and counties along the way. They would only travel a distance of 25 kilometers a day. At the same time, they would constantly send out scouts to gather information on the battlefield. Furthermore, King Lanji gifted the Baizhe mercenaries with 10 wolf falcons and beast tamers, which played an excellent role as scouts. In the evening, Xian County wasn't considered rich. It was only a small province in Eastcom province. It had a population of nearly 200,000, and its main industries were farming, fishing, and hunting. Si Kongyao had the princess token, so she was warmly received by the governor of Xian County. When the army arrived outside the county city and set up camp in the evening, a large number of provisions, armaments, cattle, and sheep were delivered from the city. Therefore, it was easy to slaughter pigs and cows to reward the army. The central tent of the Baizhe mercenaries was heavily guarded. Even the governor of Xian County wasn't qualified to enter. However, when Lu Bai opened the tent door and walked in, he found Lin Muyu, Qin, Si Kongyao, and the others cooking beef hot pot. They had received a large piece of beef thigh from the governor of Xian County, and it was just right for the hot pot. Lu Bai sat down honestly and beamed. Wow, I didn't expect there to be delicious food for dinner tonight. Si Kongyao glared at him. Did you complete the mission? Yes. Lu Bai took out a scroll and handed it to Si Kongyao. Si Kongyao handed it to Lin Muyu and said, Brother, you take a look. Ask me if there's anything you don't understand. I've been to Eastcom province many times, so I'm very familiar with it. Lin Muyu sat cross-legged and unfurled the scroll with a whoosh. It was a large map of Eastcom province and Tianji province. On it, red ink had been used to mark the defenses, camps, manpower, and supply routes of the 900,000 troops under Qin Yu's command. Lin Muyu pondered for a long time before slowly putting down the map. What's the matter? Qin asked. Lin Muyu took a deep breath. Qin Yu is indeed Qin Yu. He can't be compared to those muddle-headed emperors like Qin Yi, Baiming Yuan, and Shi Yuan. Look, his 500,000 troops have surrounded Eastcom city and blocked all the exits. The other 400,000 troops are divided into 8 groups. 3 of them are in the southeast of Eastcom city to guard against reinforcements from the Blackstone Empire. The other 5 are in a pentagon formation to the north of us. The 5 armies can cooperate with each other at any time. These 250,000 troops are used to stop us. Si Kongyao narrowed her eyes and said, These 250,000 troops are the Terminus Earth Corps, led by Zhou Binlong. In the army of the Celestial Empire, apart from the Terminus Heaven Corps led by Dongqing Wang, this Terminus Earth Corps is the second best. Qin Yu really thinks highly of the Baizhe mercenaries by sending the Terminus Earth Corps to deal with us. At this time, a dragon's roar suddenly came from above. It's a dragon knight. Tang Xiaoxi was slightly startled. Qin gently moved her palm, and a faint divine luster surrounded her jade-like fingers. She asked, Big brother Yu, the Baizhe mercenaries don't have a dragon knight. It must be the Celestial Empire's dragon knight spying on us. Should we take care of them? No need. Lin Muyu shook her head. Don't worry about it. If it wants to watch, let it watch to its heart's content. Let's continue eating. Unless it's absolutely necessary, the three of us shouldn't expose ourselves. I don't want to officially break off relations with Qinyu for the time being. After all, we are still allies on the surface. Si Kongyao started to feel uneasy. She frowned and said, then, Big Brother Yu, we are less than 400 li away from the terminus Earth core. Their cavalry can rush here in a day and night. Are we really going to sit here and wait for death? Yao passed down the order to strengthen the defenses. After setting up camp, we must immediately dig fortifications and bury antlers. The spear soldiers will be stationed at the periphery. The archers will be behind them. The cavalry will be in the middle. Even if they rush here to attack, they will be tired cavalry. We have the spear soldiers and archers. Why would we be afraid of a tired cavalry? Si Kongyao smiled gently and nodded. Yes, I understand. At that moment, Si Kongyao felt that Lin Muyu was truly an exceptional general. It was as though as long as he was by her side, victory would be in her grasp. There was nothing to worry about. When Lin Muyu gave the order, he revealed a calm and confident look. This was something that Si Kongyao had never seen before. The young lady's heart thumped, but in front of Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi, Si Kongyao could only control her emotions. So be it. Calling someone I like brother and sister is better than being strangers. Lu Bai rubbed his hands together. Let's eat hot pot. Let's eat hot pot. Lin Muyu glared at him. What are you eating for? Go and give a new order before eating. Ah, there's another order? Yes, send the scouts out again. Why, haven't we already found out the details of the army? The distribution of rations, the amount of rations stored, the amount of rations being transported, and the details. I need all of these. If we just do a rough investigation, it will harm the entire army. Yes, this subordinate understands. Lu Bai was solemn. He placed the helmet under his armpit and bowed before leaving. Qin Yin was surprised. Big Brother Yu, what are your plans? Rations, it's still rations. Lin Muyu muttered to herself. The Celestial Empire's 900,000 people entered Eastcom province, but they didn't manage to conquer any of the cities along the way before they surrounded Eastcom city. Therefore, most of the Celestial Empire's rations have to be transported from the mainland. However, the two places are separated by such a huge forest of no return. Their rations route must have been approved by the Demon Empress, so we just need to cut off the rations route and secretly send people to burn their granaries. Think about it, how much rations do 900,000 people need to eat in a day? In less than 5 days they will have to kill their horses to appease their hunger. In less than half a month, I'm afraid the Celestial Empire will collapse without a fight. Once they flee without any cavalry, our cavalry will be able to chase after them. 900,000 troops. It'll be good enough if half of them can return to the Celestial Empire. Si Kongyao's little mouth was agape. This was the true definition of a famed general. This was the penetrating insight that a famed general should have. Lu Bai and the rest were only thinking about the battle before them, but Lin Muyu was already thinking about the battle that would happen a month later. The difference in their ability to grasp a war was like heaven and earth. Chapter 963. I'm afraid it won't be easy to cut off the supply route. Tang Xiaoxi frowned. Wouldn't Qinyu have predicted this? Also, since the Monster Empress has decided to cooperate with the Celestial Empire, I'm afraid it won't be so easy to cut off the supply route. Yes. Lin Muyu nodded and smiled. But Qinyu would never have predicted that. I know Nushir. Also, I know that Nushir only wants the survival of the Monster Empress. Nothing else is important. Since Qinyu can cooperate with Nushir, then we can too. Let's not talk anymore. Let's eat. The army can advance slowly. Leave the rest to me. After a full meal, everyone responded. Lin Muyu, Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi shared a tent. There were 3 wooden beds in the tent and the quilts were warm and dry. In the middle of the night, Lin Muyu suddenly sat up and grabbed the Shenyuan sword beside the bed. What's wrong? Qin Yin was a light sleeper. She opened her eyes and looked at him. I want to see Nushir. I knew it. Qin Yin smiled. Since you want to go, I'll go with you. It's safer this way. There's no need. Nushir is very cautious. Xiao Yin has the blood of a battle angel flowing in her veins. Once she finds out, it will cause unnecessary misunderstandings. Don't worry, even if I can't defeat her, I can still leave. Don't forget that I have the divine book of the law of space with me. All right then. Qin Yin nodded. Xiaoxi and I will wait for you here. Early, you must be careful. Yes. Lin Muyu stood up and disappeared in a flash. He appeared in the sky 10 miles away. He suppressed his aura to the level of an ordinary person and spread his spiritual sense to search for the monster Empress Nusher's aura. The cold wind was biting cold. After flying for nearly 500 miles, his heart suddenly moved. He found a tyrannical demonic aura somewhere in the east, so he quickly flew over. At night it was snowing heavily. But on top of the hill stood a beautiful woman holding a pipa in her arms. Her cloak was covered with snow. She looked up at the sky, her eyebrows slightly furrowed. Suddenly, the corners of her mouth curled up, revealing a happy smile. "You're finally back." Whoosh! With the flying snow, Lin Muyu slowly descended and stood straight in front of Nusher. "Lin Muyu?" "Yes, Your Majesty." Lin Muyu said cheerfully, "You seem to know that I would come?" "That's right." The female assassin looked at him with a pair of penetrating eyes and said, "I don't know when you will come and who you will bring, but I know that you will definitely come. Let's get straight to the point." Lin Muyu brushed off the snow on his shoulder and said, "Your Majesty is cooperating with Qinyu. I believe that Qinyu must have offered a generous bargaining chip. Otherwise, Your Majesty would not agree to cooperate with humans. The bargaining chip is not considered generous, but there is a sharp knife placed on the neck of my demon spirit race." "What kind of sharp knife?" "Flames." Lin Muyu was startled, but he was an intelligent person and immediately understood what was going on. He said, "If Your Majesty does not agree to Qinyu's request, he will send people to burn down the forest of no return?" "Your Highness, you is indeed smart." Nusher smiled faintly. Lin Muyu couldn't help but sigh. "What kind of person is Your Majesty? You have never cared about worldly affairs and monopolized a region. Now that you are being threatened by someone like Qinyu, I believe it must not be a good feeling." "A great humiliation," Nusher said word by word with a murderous look on her face. Lin Muyu smiled and said, "It's all right. I am here. We can talk about a new cooperation." Nusher smiled. "Your Highness, you tell me first. What bargaining chip do you have? According to what I know, the Shattered Cauldron realm can't even protect itself now. Xianxia established a nation and started to isolate you and Empress Qinyan's power. The allied forces of the feudal vassals have become the so-called nation army. You can't even protect your throne, so how are you going to cooperate with me?" "I have another bargaining chip." Lin Muyu reached into her pocket and took out a token that was emitting a faint golden radiance. She said, "Your Highness, do you recognize this?" Nusher was slightly stunned. "The commander token of the Bai Zhe mercenary troop?" "That's right. The Bai Zhe mercenary troop is my private army with a total of 180,000 soldiers. They have sufficient military equipment and rations. If I have the Bai Zhe mercenary troop as a bargaining chip, does Your Highness think that we can talk about cooperation?" Nusher smiled. "All right, Lin Muyu is indeed Lin Muyu. No one would have expected you to make such a move. It's good that you kept the Bai Zhe mercenary troop. I'm afraid that a mere Bai Zhe mercenary troop will cause chaos in the Celestial Pole continent. Please tell me, Your Highness, how do you want to cooperate?" Lin Muyu was not in a hurry to answer. Instead, she took out an umbrella from her cosmos sack and opened it with a swoosh. She walked forward to shield the demon empress from the wind and snow. She smiled and said, "This place is really not suitable to talk about such a big matter." Nusher couldn't help but smile. She felt warmth in her heart. She was the demon spirit king and was born with unparalleled beauty. However, no man in this world dared to treat her well. Lin Muyu was the first. More importantly, Nusher didn't dislike this man. Instead, she felt that he was very interesting and she was willing to get close to him. Thinking of this, Nusher's face suddenly turned red. She couldn't help but curse herself in her heart. He was simply crazy. However, Lin Muyu didn't notice Nusher's abnormality. She continued, "Your Highness gave up a supply route in the Forest of No Return, allowing the Celestial Empire to pass through the Forest of No Return. This is the biggest bargaining chip that Qinyu can use to cross the Forest of No Return to attack the Tianji Empire. Without this supply route, I'm afraid that Qinyu's million-strong army will be nowhere to go." Nusher was stunned. "Your Highness, you wants me to cut off the supply route? You don't have to do it yourself. The Bai Zhe mercenaries can do it for you. All Your Highness has to do is order the demon spirit army not to attack the Bai Zhe mercenaries. I don't even need Your Highness to use a single soldier to help me. You can just watch from the sidelines." Then, What benefits does our demon spirit race have? Too many. Lin Muyu smiled and said, first of all, you don't have to be threatened by Qin Yu anymore. Once Qin Yu's army is defeated, he won't even have the strength to set fire to the forest of no return. Secondly, the demon spirit race lives in the forest all year round and is constantly under threat. Your Highness can take advantage of the situation and attack the Tianji Empire's Huiyuan province. Taking down Huiyuan City will become the foundation of the demon spirit race. Thirdly, when my great Qin's million-strong army sweeps through the Celestial Pole continent, Your Highness can join hands with me to rule the Celestial Pole continent. Nu Shi's shoulders slightly trembled. Lin Muyu's words had greatly exceeded her imagination. Your Highness, you wants my demon spirit race to participate in the struggle for hegemony in the Celestial Pole continent? Your Highness, can you avoid it? Furthermore, the demon spirit race is already involved. You helped the Celestial Empire to attack the Tianji Empire's Yanji Corps, causing the Yanji Corps to be defeated and Zhang Qing to be killed. Even if you don't attack the Tianji Empire will take revenge sooner or later. Zhang Qing is the sacred martial god, an existence second only to Xikong Ming. Your Highness, do you think that Baiming Yuan will let your demon spirit race off? Nu Shi's shoulders violently trembled. Perhaps it was because of the cold, or perhaps it was because of fear. If Baiming Yuan really wanted to take revenge, the price would be too great. Lin Muyu continued, once the supply route is cut off, Qin Yu will definitely panic. He will then give the order to attack the city. There will definitely be a decisive battle between the Celestial Empire and the Tianji Empire. As long as both of them suffer heavy losses, Your Highness can take advantage of the situation and seize the Huiyuan province. With the Huiyuan province and the Xishan province occupied by the Baizhe mercenaries, it will be enough to establish a foothold in this Celestial Pole continent. Nu Shi nodded. After thinking for a long time, she raised her head and smiled. Has Your Highness you already thought about the future for my demon spirit race? That's right. Lin Muyu's eyes were like torches as she looked at her. Because I have long regarded Your Highness as an ally. Your Highness wants to enjoy peaceful days, and so do I. However, only after eliminating the dissidents will there be true peace. What Your Highness has to do is very simple. It's just a choice. Choose me, Qin Yu, or even Baiming Yuan. Whoever you think will be the final ruler of this continent, you can choose him. Nu Shi's eyes were tranquil. After a few seconds she said, Can Your Highness you show me your sword? Yes. Lin Muyu unsheathed the Xianyuan sword. Nu Shi held the divine sword, her body slightly trembling. She said, Such a powerful morality. This is the Xianyuan sword, the weapon that Brother Demon Emperor gave me. The Xianyuan sword. Nu Shi raised her head and looked at him. This is the sword of a king. Lin Muyu was stunned. Why do you say that? Nu Shi took a step back and knelt on the ground. Demon Emperor Nu Shi is willing to respect Lin Muyu as the king. As long as the king points, the demon race will go through fire and water. Lin Muyu hurriedly reached out to hold her arms. Get up, Your Highness is too kind. Nu Shi stood up and smiled. Then the alliance has been formed. It seems that Your Highness has also made a choice. Yes, with the Eastern Heaven Realm's 7 luminaries Demon Emperor as your backing, Your Highness you will eventually become the king of this plane. This little girl is just adapting to the circumstances. Lin Muyu looked at her deeply. He knew that his charm had not reached the point where it could confuse the Demon Emperor. Nu Shi was very smart and her choice would be the wisest. Land of Exile. Dark clouds rolled in the sky as if a heavy rain was coming. On the ground, countless creatures looked up at the sky. They knew that it rarely rained in the land of exile. Even if it rained, it was just acid rain contaminated by radiation. Thunder rumbled and a bolt of lightning tore open the sky. The exiles looked up at the sky and saw a beautiful woman with 6 wings behind her descending from the sky. When she landed in the town, the 6 wings disappeared on their own as if they had never appeared. She looked around and stepped into a tavern. Give me a glass of strong wine. She pressed a gold coin on the counter. The owner of the tavern was a bearded man who had lost an eye. He was slightly startled, then accepted the gold coin and said, Please wait a moment, it will be ready soon. The beautiful woman wore an exquisite angel costume and slowly sat on a seat by the window. A few minutes later, amidst the flashes of lightning and strong winds outside, another beautiful figure appeared. It was still a 6-winged angel. She slowly flew to the window and said faintly, Xian, is this your choice? You said that you want to go back to your hometown to rest, but why did you come to such a filthy place like the land of exile? Do you know how great of a loss this is to the Western Heaven realm? Why don't you go back to your hometown? Xian held the goblet, took a sip and smiled. Hometown? My old friends there have long died. What kind of hometown is it without any relatives? My only relative is called Xin and she is in the Shattered Cauldron realm. Eva was stunned. You want to go to the Shattered Cauldron realm? Yes. But the power of the Divine Pact is still there. Once you go to the Shattered Cauldron realm without being exiled, you will lose all your power. It's okay, I am just going to find my family. I don't need power. Do you want to come in for a drink? Eva frowned and sat in front of Xian saying, You are even more willful than Xin. So I want to go to her. Eva, do you want to come with me and leave this hypocritical world? Me. Eva took the strong wine, took a sip and said, Forget it, I don't have that kind of luck. Not far away, a few burly men who were drinking didn't dare to make a sound. No one dared to breathe loudly. The people of the land of exile all knew the legend of the heaven realm. These two beautiful women both had 6 wings. They were the 2 strongest blazing angels in the god realm. Who dared to provoke them unless they didn't want to live? However, it was really too boring for 2 blazing angels to come to this barren land to drink. Chapter 964. Tell me, what are you thinking? Eva held her goblet and looked indifferently at Xian, her best friend who had known her for over 10,000 years. Actually, I don't have any thoughts. I'm just very confused. Xian put down her goblet, raised her hands behind her head, and lay lazily on the dirty sofa. Also, I'm tired. I don't want to continue working meaninglessly. Tired? Yes. For tens of thousands of years, we've experienced many massacres. Every time I firmly believed that what we did was for judgment and justice. But now it seems that isn't the case. We're just trying to protect our position as the master of the god realm. Xian laughed self-deprecatingly. I originally thought that I was a blazing angel who defended the Western divine realm. But now it seems that I'm just an executioner. For our own selfish desires, we've caused the mortal world to be at war for years. Many living beings have died because of us. This isn't something that the god realm should do. Gods should pity the common people and not treat mortals as ants. Are you blaming the ruler? Eva asked with a smile. No, I'm not. Xian shook her head but felt that such a denial was too weak. Maowa took another sip of wine and said, Just as you said, the ruler's actions over the past year have indeed exceeded the standards of a ruler of the god realm, and he is more like a tyrant. But Xian, you should also look at it from another perspective. The rise of the East Heaven Court has caused the other 3 great heaven realms to feel that they are in imminent danger. At this time, the ruler has already lost his composure. Is it too much to do so many things in order to protect his ruling position in the West Heaven realm? He's just doing what a ruler should do. Maybe you're right. Xian's gaze was indifferent. After I signed a divine contract with Xiao, why can the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor and Xiao abide by it but not the Lord Ruler? Were the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor and Xiao not worried about losing the Shattered Cauldron realm in Linmuyu? They are worried as well, but they don't want to trample on their own dignity and principles. Just like Linmuyu and Xin, they have their own principles and bottom lines that they will never be willing to violate. As for the Lord Ruler, he has already lost all of his bottom lines. Eva was stunned. She muttered, You're very angry at the sovereign? Or rather, I'm disappointed. Xian looked out of the window, her eyes as clear as water. That's why I've decided to leave the immortal world and become immortal, to pursue the life I want. Even if I can't achieve eternal life, at least I want to truly live once. Why don't we go through the star cavern? Eva looked straight at her. Because I don't want to continue supporting the divine pact. This is a meaningless divine pact. Xian suddenly stood up and said, Time's up. Eva, I'm going to the Shattered Cauldron realm to look for Xin. What about you? Me. Eva pursed her red lips and said, The Western divine realm is in chaos now. Due to the overbearing attitude of the East Heaven, all the great families are in a state of panic. The flames of war have already been ignited at the borders. I have to lead the divine race army to quell the chaos. Sigh, it's not too late for you to change your mind now. At least you still have your blazing angel cultivation. However, once you go to the Shattered Cauldron realm, you will trigger the divine pact and lose everything. Lose everything? Xian smiled and shook her head. Oh, I still have Xin. I heard that Terralin Lake and the others are still in the Shattered Cauldron realm. Following Xin is equivalent to betraying the Western Divine Realm. The Sovereign definitely won't let them off. So I have the responsibility to lead them to a path of survival. Can you still lead them to the light after losing your godly power? Why, you don't believe in my ability? Xian smiled and gently opened her palm. A small sword of light condensed at the tip of each of her fingers. She smiled and said, Eva, don't forget that we have sparred countless times over the years. You have never won against me even once. I admit that the 7 slashes are indeed powerful. However, can you still use the 7 slashes without your godly power? Eva frowned. How about this? After I return to the Western Divine Realm, I will immediately look for Li Fei and have her descend to the mortal world to find you. Li Fei's strength is not bad. At the very least she can ensure your safety. There's no need. Don't let anyone find me. Why? I don't want to be a blazing angel anymore, Xian said very calmly. However, Eva was stunned. She could hardly believe that Xian would say such a thing. Blazing angels were existences that were almost ultimate gods. What kind of person would be willing to give up such a noble identity? Right, Eva, I'm leaving. Xian stood up and suddenly disappeared from the small tavern. The next moment, a ball of fire fell straight into the distance. It was a force that had entered the spatial crack. You. Eva gritted her teeth. She felt the ground beneath her feet start to tremble. Rays of golden light appeared in the air. The light condensed into ancient characters that spun rapidly in the air. Soon after they all collapsed. The divine pact had been broken. The price was that Xian had lost all of her cultivation. Whoosh. A pillar of light poured down on the ground. The next moment, in the depths of the forest, the light gradually condensed into the image of a beautiful woman. She wore a long white dress and knelt in the wild grass as if she was not afraid of the cold. Roar. Her Lin had alarmed the surrounding beasts. A grizzly bear woke up from its sleep, roaring and waving its sharp claws to kill. Go back. Xian looked indifferently in the direction of the grizzly bear. She muttered silently, Go back and rest immediately. Otherwise you will regret it. Roar. The grizzly bear stopped. A pair of black eyes stared at the delicious meal of Xian. It raised its head and roared. It actually walked back to its nest dejectedly. This was a 240-year-old spiritual grizzly bear. Xian, who had lost her cultivation, actually scared off the grizzly bear just by relying on the aura of a former blazing angel. Humph, what a child. The corners of Xian's mouth curled up with pride. She slowly drew out the sword Blazing Moon from her waist. The blade was slightly curved like a crescent moon. However, there was a faint scorching power around the blade. This Blazing Moon sword was also considered one of the top artifacts in the Western Divine Realm. Apart from Claude Stig's spear and dagger of time, the Blazing Moon sword was probably the strongest. However, Xian could not muster a trace of divine power in her body. Her power had been completely drained the moment she entered the Shattered Cauldron realm with the curse of the Divine Pact. At this time her body was like a huge dried-up lake. Although it was deep and wide, there was not a single drop of power left. With a slight frown, Xian's hand that was holding the Blazing Moon sword trembled slightly. This long sword that had been with her for many years seemed to be on the verge of losing control. A tyrannical power surged out from the blade and slowly devoured Xian's palm. In an instant Xian stood rooted to the ground. Her face was pale and her arms trembled violently. She gritted her teeth and said in an imposing manner, Blazing Moon, are you crazy? Don't tell me you don't recognize me anymore? Behave yourself. Otherwise I will smelt you and turn you into a pickaxe for digging coal. Buzz buzz. This threat was very powerful. The devouring of the Blazing Moon sword gradually weakened, allowing Xian to relax. The artifact originally contained power. Although she did not have divine power in her body, she might be able to use the first few moves of the 7 slashes by using the power of the Blazing Moon. If that was the case, at least she would have the power to protect herself in this plane. Step by step she walked to the edge of the forest. When she came to the main road, she saw a stone tablet buried at the edge of the official road from afar. On it were 3 huge words. Songnan Province. In the east heaven, Xian's lonely figure appeared in the huge pond of illusion. The 7 luminaries demon emperor was dressed in military attire, ready to personally lead the army into battle. Holding the Pangu axe in his hand, he squinted his eyes and smiled. The divine pact has been lifted. Xiao, you can finally rest assured now. At the side, Xiao nodded and smiled. Looks like Xian was the first to choose to give up. Qing Ping said, at this moment the Western Divine Realm is in chaos. This is a great opportunity for us to send troops to destroy the Western Divine Realm. Demon Emperor, it's not wise to miss this opportunity. Besides, Claude has lost the help of the blazing angel Xian. It's like he has lost an arm. This is a great opportunity for us. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor said calmly, I know. When I'm ready, we'll start the battle immediately. At this moment, from the ranks of the God Emperors, a person holding a spear walked out and said, Your Majesty Demon Emperor, this Xian is one of the 2 blazing angels and also one of our greatest threats. She took the initiative to violate the divine pact and give up her cultivation. Could she be doing something wrong? I suggest that we immediately send a God Emperor to the lower realm to kill Xian. We'll cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. We'll make the Western Divine Realm lose the strongest blazing angel. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor looked at the group of God Emperors from afar and said, What do you think? The gods were stunned. One of them stepped out and said, Your Majesty Demon Emperor, I think it's feasible. For now we haven't figured out Xian's real goal. The most direct way to solve the problem is to kill Xian and make all their plans go up in smoke. Is there anyone else who thinks so? The other God Emperors nodded one after another. Yes, cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. Xiao frowned slightly and looked at the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor, but she didn't say anything. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor slowly sat on the God King's seat and pointed at the crowd. He scolded while spitting saliva. That's why I said you are rookies who have been cultivating for thousands of years and haven't improved. Do you know why? Your mental state is too weak. We are gods. We should be thinking about creating the world and taking pity on all living things. But all you think about is fighting and killing all day long. When will you ever reach the 99 God Emperor realm? The gods trembled with fear. None of them dared to say anything. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor had an arrogant look on his face. Don't talk nonsense with me. Immediately prepare to attack the Western Divine Realm. Also Xiao, you don't have to go to war. Just watch over the Shattered Cauldron Realm and inform me immediately if there are any strange movements. Yes, Demon Emperor. Xiao smiled happily. Then what about Xian? Protect her well. If she encounters any danger, go to the lower realm at any time. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor nodded and looked at the simple patterns on the floor. He said, No matter what, she is Yu's sister-in-law. If anything happens to Xian, I won't be able to face it. Chapter 965. December 11th, Forest of No Return, heavy snow. The roads in the Forest of No Return were rugged. Only one of the mountain roads was relatively flat and could still be used to transport supplies. This road was called the Coiled Snake Road and was extremely winding. At this time, the Coiled Snake Road was covered by heavy snow, but from afar one could see that the Celestial Empire's grain transport team had a lot of people. There were at least 5,000 of them. A large group of people at the front swept the snow and cleared the road. At the back, there were cavalry on war horses helping to drag the grain carts that were stuck in the mud. At the same time, there were 2 dragon knights hovering in the air. Sending 2 dragon knights to protect the grain route was enough to show how cautious Yu was in using his troops. However, this time he was destined to fail. On the mountain ridge behind the Coiled Snake Road, the densely packed cavalry and archers were already ready. Banners fluttered in the cold wind. Lu Bai, Si Kongyao and the others stared at the 2 dragon knights in the air. Is there no problem? Lu Bai frowned and said, Are these 2 dragon knights blind? We are so close, but they actually turned a blind eye to the 10,000-strong army? Lin Muyu said, Don't talk nonsense. Her Majesty the Female Slayer has set up a blinding enchantment in our entire area. Even the dragon knights can't see it. The female slayer wore a white cloak and glared at Lu Bai. Lu Bai's heart almost stopped. Qin Yin smiled and said, Then when do we make our move? Don't rush. Wait until all the grain carts arrive at the Coiled Snake Road. Lin Muyu's eyes were cold and said, There are at least 500,000 dawn of grain. This is at least 10 days' worth of rations for Qin Yu's 1 million troops. As long as we cut off their rations, Qin Yu will be begging for death. Xianxia chuckled and said, how do we make our move? Let's get rid of these 2 dragon knights first. Lin Muyu squinted at the sky and said, in a while Zhou Xian and I will go up together. Each of us will kill one of them before they release the wolf falcons. Xiaoxi will lead Bai and Yao to attack from the ground. Remember, leave some alive and try to ensure that their armor is intact. What? Lu Bai asked. Lin Muyu looked at him as if he was an idiot and said, tell me, what are we doing now? Intercept their rations. But there's nothing else. Lin Muyu facepalmed. Bai, you idiot, you're thinking of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Don't forget that Qin Yu has at least 1 million dawn of grain in Lanhe County, 10 miles east of Eastcom City. If we don't burn down the Lanhe County granary, I'm afraid Qin Yu will be able to hold on for a while. We'll change into the Celestial Empire's grain carts here and sneak into Lanhe County's granary. Only then can we burn down Qin Yu's last hope. I understand. Lu Bai cupped his fists and said, Lin General is truly smart. This is just the basic strategy for marching troops. Read more when you have time. Yes. 30 minutes later, the operation began. The drums on the mountain sounded in unison. Swoosh, swoosh. 2 beams of light shot into the sky. Lin Muyu's Xianyuan sword had already been unsheathed, and the blade slashed straight at the dragon knight on the left. Chaotic light. The dragon knight hurriedly pulled out his sword to block. But how could he block it? Lin Muyu's sword borrowed the power of the mountains and broke the dragon knight's sword with great force. The Xianyuan sword cut into the dragon knight's armor with unstoppable force, and blood splattered everywhere. In just an instant, the dragon knight who had the cultivation of the 15th level of Grotto Heaven was killed. In another direction, Qin Yin's stellar sword had also killed another dragon knight. The first strike of Shi Yan's 7 slashes, split, was extremely lethal. On the ground, the sounds of killing rang out. Tang Xiaoxi turned into a fiery light and shuttled through the crowd of the grain carts. She held the dig's spear in her hand, and the tip of the spear turned into fiery light as it flew out continuously. This allowed the Bai Zhe mercenaries to seize absolute dominance on the battlefield with almost no losses. In less than 10 minutes, more than half of the 5,000 grain carts of the Celestial Empire were killed. The remaining 1,000 or so surrendered. Their fighting spirit didn't seem to be very strong. Under Lin Muyu's orders, the Bai Zhe mercenaries imprisoned these 1,000 cavalrymen, and Lu Bai selected 1,000 elites. They put on the clothes of the grain carts and escorted the grain carts to Lanhe County. Watching the grain carts leave, Lu Bai sighed. I taught these 1,000 people personally. Lin General, do you think they can come back alive? Most of them can't. Lin Muyu said. Lu Bai's heart turned cold. But Lin General, you told them that as long as they burn the granary, they can enter the stables, steal the war horses and escape. If I didn't say that, they definitely wouldn't be willing to go. Lin Muyu exhaled a breath of hot air and rubbed her cold palms. I can only give them hope and let them complete this impossible task. What kind of person is Qin Yu? He's good at scheming. His granary will definitely be heavily guarded. Even if they go in, it will be very difficult to get out. But Lu Bai was stunned. Xikong Yao, who was at the side, patted his shoulder and said, Commoner, you should also understand the principle of not being merciful in commanding an army. You can't bear to let the officers and soldiers throw away their lives. This is the reason why you are qualified to be a general. But Big Brother you can do this. This is the reason why he is qualified to be a marshal. If even he is as indecisive as you, then this battle has already been lost. Lin Muyu was silent. She quietly turned around and sat on a rock. She didn't even sweep away the snow on the rock. Are you all right? Qin Yin quietly accompanied her. I'm fine. Lin Muyu raised her head to look at her and smiled. I can overcome this mentality. Over the years, tens of thousands of people have died for me, but I know that what I'm doing is right. Only by doing this can fewer people die. Only by doing this can the world be unified. The female murderer nodded her head in approval. Lu Bai seemed to think for a long time. Then what do we do now? Continue to seal off the Celestial Empire's grain routes, mine stones, and build fortresses along their retreat routes. Lin Muyu stood up and said, since we've already formed an alliance with the demonic spirit race, we can't lead the Celestial Empire's army into the forest of no return. I want Qin Yu's defeated army to return through the Blackstone Empire and have them fight the Blackstone Empire again. Lu Bai stood there in a daze. At this moment he finally understood what war was. War was death and slaughter. It was all about schemes and strategies regardless of the cost. Yes, this subordinate understands. When he looked at Lin Muyu again, there was more respect in his eyes. Perhaps it was as Si Kongyao had said, he had too many things to learn from Lin Muyu. On the 15th day the Lanhe County's granary caught fire. Qin Yu immediately led 30,000 soldiers to extinguish the fire. After a day and a night the fire was extinguished. However, the granary had turned into ruins in the middle of the night. Dust from the burning of the grains fell from the sky, covering every corner of the Lanhe County. It made people feel despair. Rustle, rustle, rustle. Qin Yu's battle boots stepped on the muddy ground. He was dressed in a golden military uniform. His expression was extremely ugly as he lightly said, "Where are the supplies?" A general cupped his fists. "This official is here. How much rations do we have left? How many days will it last?" The rations in the various camps are enough for 3 days. The remaining rations in the Lanhe County can support the entire army for another 2 days. In other words, even if we reduce the rations every day we can only last for 10 days. Only 10 days. Qin Yu's gaze was cold. "What the hell are you all doing? When will the rations transport team arrive? Send my imperial edict back to Scorching Han City. Order the Minister of the Interior to immediately supervise the rations." "Your Majesty." The logistics officer frowned and said, "Our rations route has been cut off by a group of mercenaries. Even if we send people to supervise the rations won't reach Eastcom province." "What a bastard." Qin Yu roared angrily. "What is the demon spirit race trying to do?" At the side, Liao Yang cupped his fists and said, "Your Majesty, the demon spirit race's army withdrew 5 days ago. Most of them returned to the Forest of No Return. It seems that the demon empress has given up on cooperating with us." Fickle. Qin Yu's palm landed on the wall, leaving a clear palm print. He frowned and said, "Is there no other way? Yes, we can send a small army to the surrounding cities to collect and purchase rations, but the amount won't be too much. The only way is to break into Eastcom City. There are more than 50 granaries in Eastcom City. Once they are breached we will have an endless supply of rations. Furthermore, the defending general Gong Xiangming is just a weak scholar." "Gong Xiangming? He's just a defeated opponent of Lin Muyu." Qin Yu took a deep breath and said, "Order the army to attack the city quickly. We must take down Eastcom City within 10 days and cut off Gong Xiangming's head. Also send a small army to collect rations. Even if it's looting they must get rations for me. Don't reduce the army's rations. I can't let the soldiers go hungry while fighting." "Yes, Your Majesty." A day later the 500,000-strong army of the Celestial Empire attacked the city. The entire Eastcom City was engulfed in the flames of war. Although Eastcom City was an isolated city, it was rich in resources and sturdy. The ones who were even more anxious were the Celestial Empire's army, which had lost their rations. After 3 days of attacking, both sides suffered heavy losses. The city was covered in corpses. The Celestial Empire's advantage was the number of dragon knights. More than 300 dragon knights circled above the city, slaughtering soldiers and burning the granaries. They were unscrupulous. In the blink of an eye, the ancient city of Eastcom was reduced to ruins. Smoke rose into the sky from within the city, and the people were in dire straits. "Urgent report." A messenger rushed into the tent, panting. "Marshal, we just received news that Bai Zai's mercenaries have set off. They have entered the Forest of No Return and have cut off the Celestial Empire's rations." "Oh." Gong Xiangming pressed his hand on the map on the table and said, "No wonder Qin Yu attacked the city like a madman. So their rations have been exhausted. Ah, that's great. Have you found out who's commanding the Bai Zai's mercenaries?" "Lu Bai and Si Kong." "That's impossible, right?" Gong Xiangming frowned. "Lu Bai is just a peasant, while Si Kongyao is the beloved daughter of the Celestial Bliss sect Si Kongming. How could they hit the nail on the head? Investigate further. The Bai Zai's mercenaries must have an expert commanding them. Otherwise they wouldn't have used such bold and brilliant tactics." "Yes." Gong Xiangming racked his brains as he sat there muttering to himself, who is it? Who is so powerful? Chapter 966. On the 22nd, it snowed for 4 days and 4 nights. The Celestial Empire had besieged East Peace City for 7 days straight. The city gates were covered in scars caused by the swords and catapults. The city walls looked as if they had been bathed in blood. In the cold winter, the blood of the soldiers quickly froze on the walls, making it look as if a layer of blood-colored ice crystals had been plated on the walls. Corpses were everywhere. Gong Xiangming had ordered the archers to be on guard, forbidding the Celestial Empire from collecting the corpses. As a result, layers upon layers of corpses of the Celestial Empire soldiers were piled up below the city walls. When the Celestial Empire attacked the city, they had to step over the corpses of their comrades to build ladders. It was as if the corpses had become part of the siege equipment. Late at night, the Celestial Empire's main camp ran out of food. It was cold inside the central tent. Qin Yu stood in front of the map, his body trembling uncontrollably. Suddenly, he turned around to look at the generals and said, "We've already attacked the eastern gate this afternoon. Why did you retreat? Protector Chong, you're the general leading the army. What crime do you deserve?" A captaincy hurriedly knelt down and said with an ashen face, "Your Majesty, we've suffered too many casualties. 2,000 of our brothers from the vanguard have died below the city walls. The cavalry and heavy shields of the Central Army can't stop the stones on the city walls at all. Furthermore, 7 of our dragon riders have died at the eastern gate. It's not that I don't want to attack the city, it's just that I can't. Even if I gave the order, it would only be for the remaining 5,000 of our brothers to die below the city walls. You're afraid of death and you think you're in the right." Qin Yu pointed at Protector Chong and shouted, "If even a general is as afraid of death as you are, who would dare to attack the city without any regard for their own safety? How many soldiers and horses have died before we could reach the city walls? Because of your cowardice, we failed at the last moment, and yet you still dare to quibble. Men, drag Protector Chong away and behead him." "Your Majesty, this general is innocent." Protector Chong knelt on the ground, but he was pulled away by a few guards. In the blink of an eye, a bloody head was presented to Qin Yu, but no one dared to say a word. After attacking the city for 7 days without any results, they had lost at least 150,000 soldiers. Qin Yu needed to vent his anger and Protector Chong was just unlucky. "How's the situation in the city?" Qin Yu looked at everyone coldly. None of the commander-level generals dared to make a sound. Only Liao Yang slowly walked forward, cupped his hands and said, "Your Majesty, according to what I know, our army used the Dragon Knights to descend from the sky and burn the granaries on the first day of the siege, burning most of the stored food in East Com City. The food has decreased, and the 200,000 soldiers in the city can only continue to forcibly collect food from the commoners. As a result, the commoners in East Com City have been complaining incessantly. At this point we can already see people exchanging children for food. Many commoners have not eaten for 3 to 5 days, and almost all the tree bark and roots in the city have been eaten up." Qin Yu said indifferently, "It seems that Gong Xiangming won't be able to hold out for much longer. The commoners in the city are exchanging children for food, which means that Gong Xiangming's military rations have been exhausted. As long as we surround the city we can take down East Com City in one go. Men, take my order and deploy the Terminus Earth Corps. Let them participate in the attack." "Yes." Liao Yang frowned and said, "Your Majesty, our army's food supply has also been cut off." "When did this happen?" "This morning. It's already night now and there are still many soldiers who haven't even eaten lunch. Many moldy and rotten grains have been taken out to be boiled, but it's still a drop in the bucket. It's not enough." "Do the soldiers know about the food shortage?" "Not yet." Qin Yu took a deep breath. "But we can't let them know. Pass down the order, say that the grain transport team has been delayed on the way, and will definitely arrive within a day. In addition, kill the 10,000 war horses of the Terminus Heaven Corps' Vanguard Battalion to save the situation." The Terminus Heaven Corps was Dongqing Wang's heart, and the Vanguard Battalion was the elite cavalry of the Terminus Heaven Corps. Suddenly, Dongqing Wang frowned and said, "Your Majesty, once the horses are killed for food, I'm afraid the combat power of the Terminus Heaven Corps will be greatly reduced. Moreover, 10,000 war horses can feed 800,000 soldiers. After a day they will still run out of food. Qin Yu frowned. Dongqing Wang, don't worry too much. I've calculated. In addition to the Vanguard Battalion of the Terminus Heaven Corps, we have a total of 150,000 cavalry. These 150,000 warhorses are enough for us to hold out for 15 days. As long as we hold out, the people in the city may have all starved to death and Eastcom City will be won without a fight. Dongqing Wang trembled all over. Your Majesty, are you going to give up the cavalry of the Celestial Empire? Once we lose the 150,000 cavalry, how can we fight a positional battle with the Tianji Empire? If people starve to death even if we have the cavalry, what can we do? Qin Yu looked at him coldly and said, I've made up my mind. There's no need to say more. Every day we will kill the horses for food. We must block all the food routes around Eastcom City. If we can't eat food, Gong Shangming can't eat either. I'd like to see how long this weak scholar can hold out. As he spoke, Qin Yu bowed to Han Yuan and said, Lord, come with me to the Forest of No Return tonight. I want to see the Demon Emperor Nuslik and see what she's doing. Isn't she afraid of the revenge of my million-strong army? Han Yuan nodded. Liao Yang frowned and said, since Nuslik has decided to cooperate with Bai Zai's mercenaries, she must have made up her mind. There is no need for your Majesty and Lord to take the risk. After all, the Forest of No Return is the territory of the Demon Spirit clan. If Nuslik gathers an army, I'm afraid your Majesty's life will be in danger. Qin Yu smiled brightly. The soldiers of the three armies are fighting to the death for me, and it is worth it for me to gamble for the lives of the soldiers of the three armies. I believe that you, Nushir, will not think of taking my life. Han Yuan cupped his fists. Don't worry, your Majesty. I will gather all the experts from Tianjua sect. Even if Nuslik wants to harm us, we will at most fight to the death. Good, very good. Late at night, a group of people entered the Forest of No Return. Heavy snow swirled in the air. Nushi, who was on the hill, could see through this group of people. Lin Muyu, Si Kongyao, Qin Yin, and the rest were standing on top of the newly built fortress. This fortress was built by freezing mud, stones and water. It was guarded by 100,000 Bai's mercenaries and was named Bai's Fortress. After many days of transportation, the Bai's fortress could be considered as a forest of arrows and a group of chariots. In the distance, Qin Yu raised his head and looked at the fortress that suddenly appeared on the grain route. He couldn't help but frown. What's going on? When did a fortress appear on the coiled snake road? Liao Yang squinted and looked carefully. The flag fluttering on the fortress is the flag of Bai Zai's mercenaries. So the Bai Zai's mercenaries have been hiding here all along. Qin Yu was silent. Liao Yang said, Your Majesty, what's wrong? We retreat. In the cold weather, Qin Yu's forehead was covered with cold sweat. If we retreat, where should we go? The Bai Zai's mercenaries are like a fatal knife that appeared on our retreat path. This Si Kongyao doesn't want to leave a path of retreat for our celestial empire. Liao Yang nodded. This fortress is blessed by nature. Can be said that one man can hold the pass against 10,000. If it is really as your Majesty said, I'm afraid it will be bad. Qin Yu gritted his teeth and said in a low voice, Damn it. Once East Peace City is conquered, I will immediately eliminate the Bai Zai's mercenaries. These boorish men who don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Han Yuan, dressed in a black robe, flew quietly in the sky. Suddenly he said, Your Majesty, the Demon Empress Nushi is here to welcome us. Sure enough, within the swirling snow, a dense crowd of figures appeared on the hill. The Demon Empress Nushi was still hugging her pipa and stood elegantly in the snow. Her pair of intelligent eyes looked at Qin Yu's group. Around her were many demon spirits with the strength of demon kings and demon venerables. Low roars could be heard on the hill. At least 10,000 high-level demon spirits were gathered here. Qin Yu stepped on the snow and suddenly flew up. He cupped his fists in the air and said, Qin Yu greets the Demon Empress. This little girl greets your Majesty, Qin Yu. Nushi smiled. May I know why your Majesty brought over 100 people here? Qin Yu smiled faintly and said, I just want to ask why your Majesty allowed the Bai's mercenaries to act so wantonly on the serpentine path. Could it be that your Majesty has forgotten the agreement between us? I haven't forgotten. The female murderess's gaze was faint as she said, however, the Bai's mercenaries' bargaining chip is more attractive. Furthermore, Miss Si Kongyao also promised that she would not burn the Forest of No Return. This little girl is the Demon Spirit Clan's emperor, so I can only make a choice. I chose the Baize mercenaries. Qin Yu gritted his teeth. Has your majesty decided to become enemies with the Celestial Empire? Whatever you think. Nushi giggled. However, it seems that your majesty has brought so many people here. I believe this battle is inevitable. Since we are going to fight, what's the point of talking so much? Descendants of the demon spirits, prepare to kill the enemy. Suddenly the mountain was filled with the howls of wolves and tigers. The demon spirits revealed their sharp claws and fangs. Not only that, but there was also a dense crowd of Baize mercenaries in white robes appearing on the hill. They all pulled their bows taut and pointed straight down the hill. The arrowheads glowed with a faint cold light. All of them were demonic heart arrows. Apart from the archers, there were also ballistas and god-hunting crossbows that were pointed at Qin Yu and the others. At the foot of the mountain, Han Yuan waved his sleeves and rays of golden light shone from his body. He looked like a god as he flew up. Su Ran smiled. Nushi, do you really want to start a war with the Sky Limit sect? Nushi faintly smiled. Sect Master Han Yuan, you're a grandmaster. If we're being reasonable, you're currently provoking us in our Demon Spirit Clan's territory. We didn't take the initiative to start a war. Forget it, Han Yuan laughed. From now on there will be no more demon spirits between the mountains. Kill them. Chapter 967. The sound of the guqin intertwined with the lightning. Han Yuan's every palm was filled with intense lightning. When his palm landed, not only did it clash with New Shire's power, but it also burned the surrounding demon spirits with lower cultivation into ashes. Han Yuan's cultivation was very shocking. He was proficient in the 3 laws of thunder, fire, and earth. The spirit pearl of law formed by the caste deity emerged from his body. He had the upper hand and his attacks were very fierce. Qin Yu, Liao Yang, and the rest all pulled out their sharp blades and rushed to the top of the mountain. On the other hand, the group of demons on the mountain let out a shrill cry. This was a battle to protect their homeland. They were ferocious. Bang! 2 rays of golden light collided. It was the divine will formed by New Shire and Han Yuan respectively. Half of the mountain was almost flattened. In the blink of an eye, at least 100 demon spirits had died under Han Yuan's divine power. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The demonic heart arrows fell like rain and continuously hit the protective upstanding chi of the experts of the Tianjue sect. The god-hunting crossbow was a kind of crossbow that was tempered by the demonic heart stone. It was powerful and required 3 to 5 people to use it at the same time. The powerful force was enough to penetrate the protective upstanding chi of the experts below the immortal state. As a result, blood splattered everywhere. In a battle between an army and a god, it was not always the god who won. This was the first time that the Baize mercenaries were fighting against a god. However, it seemed that the soldiers were not very afraid. Even though their companions had died tragically, they did not lose the courage to fight. Lu Bai was not good at other things, but he was good at leading troops. At least he had injected a fearless soul into the Baize mercenaries. That was enough. On the Baize fortress, which was about 500 meters away, Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and the rest watched from afar. Are we really not going to help? Si Kongyao blinked her eyes. Don't worry, Nu Shi can handle it. Lin Muyu smiled with a deep gaze. Although the Korean one is strong, Nushifu also has the help of Baize's mercenaries. She won't lose. Furthermore, there are many demon spirits. If nothing goes wrong, Qin Yu will soon order a retreat. His main opponent is Gong Shangming in Eastcom City, not us. He won't let all his trump cards die in the forest of no return. Qin Yin nodded. Yao, if we make a move, whether it's brother Yu's Xinyuan sword, Shaoxi's 9-tailed transformation, or my eyes of flaming light, they will all expose our identities. But we've already planned it before we came here. The 3 of us will never expose our identities. We'll just help you finish the show in secret. Picong Yao smiled. Actually, the ones performing the show are not the Baize's mercenaries. The ones performing the show are Qin Yu and Gong Shangming. The 2 of them are the ones who control the entire continent's military strength. Yes, but I don't know if Gong Shangming will disappoint us. The corners of Lin Muyu's mouth curled up. The longer Gong Shangming can last, the more advantageous it will be for us. Qin Yu's army has already eaten up all the grass outside Eastcom City. They'll start killing the horses now. Let's see what they can eat in half a month. Half an hour later, just as Lin Muyu had expected, Qin Yu issued the order to retreat. More than half of the 100 experts from the Heavenly Extremity sect had died. Even Han Yuan's face was slightly pale. If they continued fighting, they would be able to destroy all the elites of the demon spirit race and even kill Nu Shi. However, the price was something the Celestial Empire couldn't bear. Han Yuan could kill Nu Shi, but Nu Shi's counterattack could also pose a fatal threat to Han Yuan. In the heavy snow, Qin Yu's men came and left quickly. The hill was covered in corpses. This hasty battle had killed at least 1,000 demon spirits. Nu Shi's expression was extremely ugly. Rustle, rustle. Lin Muyu's figure appeared on the hill. She looked at the corpses on the ground and said, Nu Shi, I'm sorry for making you suffer such a huge loss. Nu Shi smiled in a daze. This is better than being annihilated, right? Yes. Your Highness Yu, I have something to ask you. Go ahead. In the Battle of Tsangnan Province, I heard that although you defeated the army of the Tianji Empire, the Qin army also lost over 200,000 people. Those are 200,000 lives. Doesn't Your Highness Yu feel any guilt? She looked deeply at Lin Muyu with her beautiful eyes, as if she wanted to see the answer in the depths of his heart. Lin Muyu looked at the team that was cleaning up the corpses at the foot of the hill. He was wearing a black robe and had his back facing Nu Shi. He laughed self-mockingly and said, Guilt is long gone. If guilt can help me win the war and help me recover the lost land, I will be filled with guilt. It's a pity that guilt can't help me at all. Therefore, I won't think about it or look at it. Nu Shi moved her red lips and said, Thank you for your hard work, Your Highness. It's not hard at all. Lin Muyu turned to look at her and revealed a bright smile. He said, After so many years in my eyes, the war no longer looks like a war. It's just a map. The number of troops on the map, the strength of the troops, the supply of provisions, and so on. The rest won't enter my thoughts. Every general and every soldier is just a chess piece on the map. What I need to do is to make good use of these chess pieces and achieve the greatest victory with the smallest loss. Chess piece, map? Nu Shi murmured. Lin Muyu smiled and said, In this world there are small kindness and great kindness. Taking pity on one person and giving up everything for one person is a small kindness. Taking pity on the people of the world and looking at the overall situation is the most important. Even if it means sacrificing some innocent people, this is a great kindness. This is the way of the world. How can there be such a thing as benevolence and virtue at the same time? The so-called famous generals all have blood on their hands. Nu Shi chuckled and said, Looks like I chose to follow Your Highness Yu. This choice is not wrong. Lin Muyu stepped on the snow under her feet and looked at the team that was cleaning up the corpses in the distance. She said, I hope the war will end soon. I believe that the demons and humans will live in peace one day. How can we live in peace? Nu Shi was a little hopeful. Rules and principles. Lin Muyu said indifferently, Only the victors can write such rules. Therefore we have no way out. If we want to make a new rule, we must defeat all those who don't obey. So, Nu Shi, you are the same as me. In order to win dignity and survival, we can only continuously defeat strong enemies. There is no other way. I will. Lin Muyu pursed her lips and suddenly smiled. Your Highness, what are you smiling at? Nu Shi asked. I'm laughing at myself. I used to be an unconventional person. I always felt that those old rules were like a joke. But now I'm like an old teacher preaching to others. Moreover, I'm preaching to an elder like you, Nu Shi. Don't you think it's funny? Me. Nu Shi's bright eyes rippled with laughter. What elder? Am I not as beautiful as a flower? Your Highness Yu, your words are simply too hurtful. All right, I won't say it anymore. Behind her, Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi had also arrived. Naturally, she couldn't say anything more. The wind and snow covered everyone's voices and smiles. The entire forest of No Return had become the territory of Bai Zai's mercenaries. It had also become a forbidden area for the Celestial Empire. The next day after Qin Yu returned to the camp, the Celestial Empire's attack became even more frenzied. By nightfall, the Celestial Empire had left more than 10,000 corpses at the foot of the city and retreated to the camp. But it was also late at night that the gates of the distant Eastcom city slowly opened. Rows of carriages emerged from the city and dragged the mountains of corpses into the city. Everything was carried out quietly, but it didn't escape the eyes of the Celestial Empire's dragon riders. What? Qin Yu looked at the dragon riders in shock and anger. The young dragon rider's face was pale as he said, "Your Majesty. They lured the corpses of our soldiers into the city. Before the sky even brightened, they set up countless cauldrons and cooked the corpses of our soldiers." Qin Yu finally understood why Gong Xiangming didn't clean up the corpses at the foot of the city. It turned out that Gong Xiangming had long anticipated this day. In an instant Qin Yu felt a chill in his heart. Gong Xiangming was just a scholar, but after going on an expedition to the Shattered Cauldron realm, he had actually become so shrewd. It was truly frightening. He walked out of the camp and looked at the towering Eastcom city in the distance. This city didn't seem like an isolated city. Instead, it seemed more like a tool of war. Qin Yu's eyes were blood red as he indifferently said, "Gather the generals at daybreak and discuss the strategy to breach the city. We can't delay any longer." Understood. However, the so-called strategy to breach the city was just to increase the strength of the siege. This also meant that more people would die. On the 25th, the Celestial Empire broke through the Eastern Gate with the help of the One. However, the more than 10,000 troops that entered the city were ambushed and killed by the Tianji Empire's iron hooves. In the end, all their efforts were in vain. On the 29th, all of the Celestial Empire's war horses were eaten. The new year arrived. On the 5th day of the first month, the Celestial Empire ran out of food and ammunition. Qin Yu finally couldn't withstand the pressure from his ministers and ordered his troops to retreat. However, the road back had already been cut off by Zhe's mercenaries. They could only head south through Firejin province and borrow the Blackstone Empire's route to return to the mainland. However, on the same day that the Celestial Empire's army retreated, Gong Xiangming and 200,000 reinforcements from the Tianji Empire left the city. They worked together to attack the Celestial Empire's declining army. The two sides fought for 2 days and 2 nights, suffering heavy losses. On the 9th day of the first month, 7743, Qin Yu's army entered Firejin province. They were ambushed by Zhe's mercenaries and lost more than 50,000 men. On the 14th day of the first month, 7743, Qin Yu's army left Firejin province. Less than 200,000 men remained from his army of 1 million. On the 17th day of the first month, 7743, Qin Yu's army was ambushed by Shi Yuan's 300,000 men in the Blackstone Empire's Red Cliff province. They lost nearly half of their army. On the 27th day of the first month, 7743, Qin Yu finally returned to the mainland. Less than 90,000 men remained from his army of 1 million. Jinyun Pass. Qin Yu's defeated army was chased all the way. On the 3rd day after they forced their way out of Jinyun Pass, Qin Yu had long since become a bird startled by the mere twang of a bow. When the concentrated sounds of horse hooves came from the ancient road, Qin Yu almost fell off his warhorse. Far away in the forest, there was a banner fluttering in the wind. It was the Celestial Empire's wolf head war flag. Liao Yang couldn't help but exclaim in surprise, "Your Highness, it's our own army. It's the Sun Yan army stationed outside Jinyun Pass. It's the commander of the Sun Yan army, Lord Su Zhan." Sure enough, the armored cavalry stopped in the distance. A general came forward and knelt on both knees. "Your Highness, you've suffered. Your subordinate Su Zhan led the 200,000 men from the Sun Yan army to rescue you." Qin Yu stood in the snow in a daze. His face was devoid of color. Suddenly he burst into tears. Chapter 968. On the 29th of January, although it was already the beginning of spring, the night was still very cold. The walls of Huiyuan City were all red, like a huge red mountain standing in the darkness. It was said that the bricks of Huiyuan City were made from special volcanic rocks, which was why they were so red. The bricks were hard and smooth, which was not good for climbing. Therefore, Huiyuan City, which had less than 10,000 guards, was able to withstand the attack of hundreds of thousands of Qin Yu's troops. Qin Yu had to give up Huiyuan City and go to the Blackstone Empire in the south. If Huiyuan City had not been defended, perhaps Qin Yu would not have suffered a crushing defeat in Hongyan province. The old general on the city wall was holding a flagon of wine, his eyes staring into the distance. Suddenly he raised his arm and said, "Ballisti archers, be on guard, someone is coming." A 10-man squad leader couldn't help but laugh. "Lord, you are nervous again. Qin Yu's troops have been defeated long ago. It is impossible for them to come back. Who will come now? Watch carefully." Sure enough, the dense and slow sound of horse hooves could be heard on the official road. Soon a flag could be seen. It was a flag embroidered with the mythological beast Bai Zhe. Under the illumination of the fire on the city wall, at least 10,000 Bai Zhe mercenaries appeared below the city wall. Who is it? The general shouted. Huiyuan City has implemented a curfew. No one is allowed to enter the city at night. This is the order of Marshal Gong Shangming. No one can disobey it. Please go back. Under the city wall, a girl who was originally riding on a war horse suddenly flew up to the same position as the top of the city wall. She smiled and said, "What? Bai Zhe mercenaries have just helped you drive away the army of the Celestial Empire. Now Huiyuan City has started to refuse Bai Zhe mercenaries to rest in the city? Lord, what is your name?" The old general said, "I am Hua Chong, the vanguard general of Huiyuan City." "Who are you?" The girl smiled and said, "I'm Si Kongyao, old General Hua Chong. I've seen you in Tianji City before. Have you forgotten me? You see, my Bai Zhe mercenaries have run out of food due to the heavy snow. We can no longer set up an ambush in the forest of no return, so we are now hungry and tired. We are returning to Shiping City via Huiyuan City. I hope that General will allow us to enter the city to rest for a while and provide us with some food and fodder. We will leave after a day's rest. I guarantee that we will not cause any trouble to Huiyuan City." "So it's Miss Si Kongyao. Please excuse my lack of manners." Hua Chong cupped his hands and said, "Miss Si Kongyao's Bai Zhe mercenaries have attacked the main force of the Celestial Empire at the edge of the province. They have killed 50,000 soldiers. The Celestial Empire is terrified of them. I've heard about this. But I didn't expect that Miss Si Kongyao's army would actually pass through Huiyuan City. You've taken a long detour." Next to him, a Chiliarch lowered his voice and said, "General Hua, the Marshal's secret order clearly states that we should guard Huiyuan City and wait for the Empire's army to arrive. He also said that we need to guard against the Bai Zhe mercenaries. They are even more terrifying than the Celestial Empire's army. General, you must not let them enter the city. Otherwise, if something goes wrong, both of us will go to see the Marshal." Hua Chong furrowed his brows and said in a clear voice, "Commander Gong has ordered us to defend the city to the death. Before receiving the military order, this old general does not dare to open the city gates. How about this, eldest Miss Si Kongyao? Why don't you lead the army and set up camp outside the city? This old general will immediately order the supplies department to provide you with all the necessary rations and military equipment." Si Kongyao couldn't help laughing. "It seems that General Gong has begun to guard against me, Si Kongyao? No, it's just that General Gong is being cautious." Si Kongyao's pretty face turned cold. "What do you mean by being cautious? It's obvious that you don't trust the Bai Zhe mercenaries. Gong Shangming, don't forget that if it weren't for the Bai Zhe mercenaries cutting off the Serpentine Road's food supply route and cutting off the Celestial Empire's retreat, would he have been able to defeat the million-strong army? I'm afraid that Gong Shangming is still eating human flesh in Eastcom City." Hua Chong's expression was very ugly, but he remained silent. Si Kongyao held the sword in her hand and said in a low voice, "You have to open the city gate whether you want to or not. Do as you see fit. I know the situation inside the city better than anyone. 7,000 old, weak and crippled soldiers with incomplete armor. I'm afraid there are less than 10,000 arrows left. Do you think you can stop the 50,000 cavalrymen of the Bai Zhe mercenaries with just you?" 50,000 cavalrymen. Hua Chong trembled when he heard this. It was pitch black outside and the cavalrymen behind Si Kongyao were endless. No one knew how many there were. Lu Bai's voice came from below the city. "Yao, why are you wasting time with him? If he hesitates any longer, I'll order for the city to be breached." Si Kongyao looked at Hua Chong coldly and said, "Old General, I only want to enter the city to rest so that my soldiers can have a warm night and eat their fill. If you keep making things difficult for me, then I can only use force. But don't forget, going against me means going against the Tianji sect. Moreover, I'm the Princess of Shiping, 5 levels higher than you. Are you really going to stop me?" Hua Chong finally relented. "Will the Princess of Shiping really not offend my army after entering the city?" "Of course." "All right." Hua Chong took a deep breath and said, "Someone open the city gate and lead the Bai Zhe mercenaries into the camp inside the city to rest." "Yes, General." The gate slowly opened. Lu Bai immediately led a group of Bai Zhe mercenaries into the city. However, the moment they entered the city, they immediately took control of the city gate and pointed their cold swords at the old and weak soldiers in the city. Si Kongyao jumped and landed beside Hua Chong. She placed the sharp sword on his neck and smiled. "Old General, I'm sorry. I'll take over the Huiyuan city." Hua Chong's face was ashen. "Didn't you say that you would not offend my army? There's nothing too deceitful in war." Si Kongyao revealed a sly smile and said, "But you don't have to worry. We only want the Huiyuan city. We don't want your lives. This time we will not offend you." Hua Chong gasped. "What do you want, princess? Isn't it enough that you already have Shiping province? Do you want another Huiyuan city? Although your Baizhe mercenaries are powerful, they may not be able to defend the city. You don't have to worry about that." Si Kongyao smiled. "Hand over the governor's seal immediately. I'll be in charge of the Huiyuan city from now on. Oh no, the whole Huiyuan province will be under my control." Hua Chong's face was ashen. He said in a trembling voice, "What do you want, princess? There are only 4 provinces in the Tianji Empire. What do you want to do by occupying 2 provinces? You don't have to worry about it. Hand over the seal. It's in the governor's hands. Take me there." "Yes." 2 hours later, Hua Chong successfully obtained the governor's seal and took over the entire Huiyuan city. Finally, Hua Chong left the Huiyuan city with more than 3,000 remaining soldiers before dawn. The remaining 4,000 soldiers had pledged their allegiance to Si Kongyao. For most of the local armies, it didn't matter who they were loyal to. What was important was who could give them food. As long as they had food, they wouldn't starve to death. At daybreak, a large number of high-level demon spirits entered Huiyuan city and went straight to the governor's mansion. The group of people were wearing thick cloaks and their faces were hidden by the cloaks. When they entered the mansion, Lin Muyu, Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi also appeared. A graceful woman took off her cloak and revealed a beautiful face. It was Nushi. She seemed to be a little nervous. "Is it really okay to take over Huiyuan city like this?" "There will be no problem." Si Kongyao said, "Your Majesty, you need to order the high-level demon spirits to disguise themselves as humans and blend into the army. You need to establish an army that you can control to control Huiyuan province. Then you need to designate the forest area in the city as a forbidden area for the demon spirits to live in. When the time is ripe, you can announce the peaceful coexistence between humans and demon spirits. Of course, the most important thing is to restrain the demon spirits. From now on, they will only eat grains and not humans. Otherwise, whatever you say will be false. It's impossible for humans to coexist with demon spirits." Nushi said, "Don't worry. I will issue a decree. If any demon spirit disobeys, they will be killed without mercy. It's no different from a human's decree." "Good." Si Kongyao smiled. The distance between Huiyuan city and Shiping city is less than 500 miles. It will take the cavalry a day and a night to get there. Our Baizhe mercenaries can reinforce you at any time. Your demon spirit clan will also be able to reinforce Shiping city very quickly. Yes, we will watch over each other like this." As she spoke, Nushi turned around and bowed deeply to Lin Muyu. "This little girl thanks your highness you for your kindness. If it wasn't for your idea, I'm afraid that the demon spirit clan would not have a place in this world. Your Majesty is too polite." Lin Muyu said, "However, this is only the first step. We still have other plans." "What plans?" Si Kongyao and Qin Yin asked at the same time. Lin Muyu smiled. "Right now, the Tianji Empire is struggling at death's door. It's true that Gong Xiangming has defeated Qinyu, but the number of troops he has is pitifully small. Coupled with the fact that he has lost the taxes of 2 provinces, the Tianji Empire's national strength has declined to only 20% of what it used to be. It's impossible for them to contend against the Celestial Empire and the Blackstone Empire. Therefore, our next opponent will no longer be the Tianji Empire. Instead, we should focus our strategy on forming an alliance with the Tianji Empire and expelling the Blackstone Empire. After training our troops, we will march south and seize Qianshan City and Red Rock City. This will force the Blackstone Empire's army to advance eastwards and let them snatch the territories of the Celestial Empire and fight to the death with the remaining troops of Qinyu." Tang Xiaoxi smiled. "You're really getting worse. You can even come up with this kind of idea. This is just a balance. We must make the celestial pole continent reach a balance as a whole." Nushi smiled. "Then what happens after this balance is reached?" We need another force to break this balance and re-establish the order of the celestial pole continent, Lin Muyu said confidently. What is this force you're talking about? Naturally, it's the army of our Qin Empire. Lin Muyu's words were full of pride. Chapter 969. On the 4th of February, it had been almost a month since Gong Xiangming's army had completely defeated the Celestial Empire's army. However, there weren't many smiles in the Tianji Palace of Tianji City. In the past month they had only heard one bad news after another. Marshal Gong has arrived, the eunuch announced loudly. A group of civil and military officials looked over and saw Gong Xiangming in his military uniform with a long sword hanging from his waist. His gilded combat boots stepped on the blood-red carpet as he walked into the palace step by step. After the Battle of East Com City, Gong Xiangming's name shook the world. He was already the #1 general of the Tianji Empire in name and in reality. After Zhang Qing died in battle, under the circumstances where all the generals were helpless, this Confucian scholar stepped forward and turned the tide. Not only did he win a good reputation, but he also established his position in the Tianji Empire. Even the Emperor Baiming Yuan thought highly of this Confucian marshal. Marshal Gong is here? Give him a seat, Baiming Yuan said. Thank you, Your Majesty. Gong Xiangming knelt on the ground and said, but I can't take a seat. There's new news coming from afar. This news makes me feel very embarrassed. What news? Si Kongyao and Bai Zai's mercenaries have occupied Huiyuan City. The entire Huiyuan province's dozens of prefectures have fallen one by one. Bai Zai's mercenaries have a very big appetite. Not only Xishan province, but they've even swallowed Huiyuan province. Preposterous. Baiming Yuan slammed the table and stood up. His face was full of anger. What is this little girl Si Kongyao thinking? Is she trying to seize half of my empire? Marshal Gong, as the empire's marshal, you defeated the Celestial Empire's million-strong army in the Battle of East Com City. You must have a way to take back 2 provinces from Si Kongyao, right? Gong Xiangming's face was livid. Your Majesty, I can't. Why? Gong Xiangming raised his head to look at Baiming Yuan and said, First, our national treasury is already empty. We can't take out more food and weapons to fight. Second, our military strength has declined to an unprecedented level. The Battle of East Com City was a decisive battle against the Celestial Empire's million-strong army with the Tianji Empire's national strength. After the battle, Qinyu was defeated and we weren't much better off. Yanji Corps, Lanji Corps and the newly formed army numbered nearly 500,000 people, but only less than 200,000 are left. Moreover, many of them are heavily injured and many of them are unable to step onto the battlefield again. On the other hand, Si Kongyao's Bai Zai's mercenaries only had one chance to directly enter the battlefield. That was an ambush on the border of Huiyuan province. They didn't suffer many losses at all. Instead, they captured many of the Celestial Empire's troops. Together with the troops they recruited, the Bai Zai's mercenaries now have at least 250,000 soldiers. In terms of strength, we are no longer above Bai Zai's mercenaries. What? Baiming Yuan felt a chill in his heart when he heard this. He said, if I had known this would happen, I wouldn't have invited the Bai Zai's mercenaries for reinforcements. This is simply inviting a wolf into the house. I was foolish. Gong Xiangming smiled faintly. Your Majesty, you are not foolish. If Si Kongyao's Bai Zai's mercenaries hadn't schemed in the Forest of No Return, I'm afraid that Qinyu wouldn't have been defeated. If you hadn't invited Si Kongyao, the Tianji Empire would have perished. Now what should we do? Baiming Yuan asked with an ashen face. Gong Xiangming said, it's true that the Bai Zai's mercenaries have invited a wolf into the house. This is a bad thing, but it's not like we can't turn a bad thing into a good thing. Marshal Gong, please speak. Your Majesty, in the end, Si Kongyao hasn't completely fallen out with us yet. She is still the princess of Shiping in the Tianji Empire. In my opinion, why don't you grant Si Kongyao an imperial edict and order her to lead the Bai Zai's mercenaries to attack the Licehan province of the Blackstone Empire? In this way we can take advantage of the situation and take back 2 provinces at one go. This is called, when the sandpiper and the clam fight, the fisherman benefits. Alright. Baiming Yuan stood up and said, we'll act according to the plan. But what if Si Kongyao doesn't accept my edict? It's her business whether she accepts it or not. It's your business whether to issue the edict or not. Gong Xiangming said faintly, "Your Majesty, I would like to use your golden token." "What's the use of my golden token?" "I want to go to the Tianji sect to meet the sect leader Si Ming. I'm afraid that he's the only one who can restrain Si Kongyao at this moment." "Okay." In the afternoon at the Tianji sect's main altar, Gong Xiangming held the Empire's golden token in his hand and led dozens of guards into the main altar. Along the way there was a lot of chatter. It seemed that spring came earlier in the Tianji sect's main altar compared to other places. In the depths of the main altar, pear blossoms were in full bloom. It was rare to see such beautiful and exquisite things in Tianji City. Even the imperial garden of the Tianji Palace was not as elegant and unique as this. In the depths of the pear blossoms was a thatched cottage. It was Si Ming's residence. A disciple walked in front and said respectfully, "Sect leader Marshal Gong Xiangming requests an audience." Creak. The wooden door opened slowly. Si Ming, who was dressed in a white robe, walked out in high spirits. However, if one looked closely, one would notice that his feet did not touch the ground at all. Every step he took caused a layer of frost to ripple. It was very magical. "I wonder why Marshal is looking for an old man like me?" Si Ming said with a smile. He was very amiable and amiable. Gong Xiangming immediately bowed and said respectfully, "Old sect leader, I am here for Miss Si Kongyao's matter." "Old sect leader, do you know what Miss Si Kongyao has been doing recently?" Si Ming smiled and said, "Are you talking about Yao?" "I don't know. Yao has already grown up. Even an old man like me can't control her anymore. I won't ask what Yao is doing. So, I'm afraid that Marshal has come for nothing." "Old sect leader." Gong Xiangming's voice was filled with sincerity as he said, "The Bei's mercenaries under Miss Si Kongyao's command have already consecutively plundered the West Mountain and Huiyuan provinces. Her actions are tantamount to treason. Are you really going to sit back and do nothing?" "Treason? Is that so?" Si Ming had a kind look on his face. He smiled and said, "Didn't His Majesty confer her the title of West Mountain Commandery Princess? If that's the case, he must have bestowed 2 fiefs to Yao. This is the honor of our Sikong family. Our ancestral graves are emitting green smoke." Gong Xiangming frowned and said, "Old sect master, how can His Imperial Majesty endure your words? Eldest young Miss Si Kong Yao attacked the Fire Element province without even giving us a heads up. If His Imperial Majesty investigates this matter, I'm afraid it will not be easy to resolve." Si Ming's face turned cold. "What? Investigate? Whoever dares to touch a hair on my granddaughter can try. Don't think that I, Si Ming, can't do anything for decades. Let me tell you, this old man is still strong and healthy." Gong Xiangming was stunned. "Old sect leader, you mean, you don't care what Miss Yao does outside, but if His Majesty wants to punish her, you will definitely intervene, right?" "That's right." Si Ming gently stroked his beard and said, "This old man has already said that everything in the world has nothing to do with me and the Tianji sect. Yao is a sensible child. I can understand what she does, but if anyone wants to hurt Yao, then don't blame me, Si Ming, for fighting to the death with these old bones of mine." Gong Xiangming's expression was blank. He had never seen such an unreasonable person in his life. Furthermore, this person was actually the sect master of the Celestial Polarity sect, known as the strongest expert in the Celestial Pole continent. Even that radiant angel Zai might not be stronger than Si Ming, but he would definitely not be as unreasonable as Gong Xiangming. This was simply an old fox. Gong Xiangming secretly thought this, but he couldn't do anything. If he angered Si Ming, the consequences would be unimaginable. Si Ming's strength was unfathomable. It was possible that he could kill his way into the palace and kill the emperor. "I'll take my leave. I won't see you off, Marshal. Remember not to hurt my Yao. Otherwise the Marshal will understand." "Yes." Gong Xiangming slowly backed out of the pear garden, his face looking even worse than before. He had accepted the position of general in the face of danger, but now it seemed that it was really not an easy position to hold. When Baiming Huan was in power, he had been eating and drinking all day, but now that he was in power, he had to live in fear every day. Every day felt like a year. "Marshal Gong, what do we do now?" Long Ji Corps Commander Castor asked uneasily. "What else can we do? Let's just take it one step at a time." Castor frowned. "I'm afraid we can't wait for you to take it one step at a time. Recently, many important officials in the court have been talking about you behind your back. Maybe one day someone will jointly impeach you. But what are they talking about? They said. Castor wanted to say something but stopped. No need to worry. Just say it, Commander. Yes. Castor nodded and said, they are talking about you, saying that you are a cannibal marshal who gave the order to eat people in the Shattered Cauldron realm. Now that we have been trapped in East Peace City for more than a month, your subordinates have eaten more than 200,000 corpses, including the civilians of East Peace Province. Even the governor's 3 daughters were eaten. They said that you, a cannibal marshal, are not even human, so how can you be a marshal? Marshal Gong, don't be angry. These are just the words of some vile people. I know. Gong Xiangming stood in the cold wind, his marshal's cloak fluttering in the wind. Under the cloak his body looked a little thin. He sighed and said, it's so cold. Let's go back early. Yes. However, when Gong Xiangming came to the edge of the horse, he slipped a few times in the stirrups and even leaned over the horse's back, pressing his face tightly into the saddle. The saddle was very cold, but not his heart. Gong Xiangming did not know whether he was doing the right thing or not. He did not even know whether he should step out with his left foot or right foot. Marshal Gong, are you okay? Castor asked in a low voice. I'm fine. Gong Xiangming looked up and said, it seems that old sect master Xikong Ming's path won't work either. We have to think of other ways to take back the 2 provinces from Xikongyao. Otherwise, the south will not be stable and the Tianji Empire will soon be fragmented. Castor nodded. Yes. He helped Gong Xiangming onto the horse and held the reins. He said, Marshal Gong, do you still want to continue fighting for those ungrateful vile people? Gong Xiangming straightened his iron helmet, his eyes blazing like torches. No, I continue to fight for my eternal glory, not for them, not anymore. Castor. Chapter 970. On the 9th day of the 2nd month, King Lonji led the delegation to Shiping City. Naturally, he was solemnly welcomed by the Bai Zhe mercenaries. When more than 100 members of the delegation were escorted by the Bai Zhe mercenaries into the governor's mansion, King Lonji's complexion was very ugly. This time Xianxia wasn't in Shiping City, so King Lonji didn't have any trump cards in his hands. The governor's mansion's meeting hall was resplendent with gold and jade, just like a palace. Si Kongyao's pair of long legs were wearing leather boots and she was wearing a golden cloak. She was sitting on the throne at the end of the golden stairs like a queen. Below her were 2 rows of Bai's mercenary generals, who were clad in armor and had torch-like eyes. Each of them was murderous, as if they would swallow King Lonji alive at any time. Welcome, Your Highness King Lonji. Si Kongyao stood up and gracefully saluted. King Lonji was a little frightened. He said, Princess Yao, you're too polite. Si Kongyao went straight to the point. I wonder why Your Highness has come to Shiping City this time. More than 2 months ago, Your Highness invited the Bai Zhe mercenaries to go on an expedition to East Calm City. We've already done it. This Xishan province is a fief that His Majesty personally conferred to me. You wouldn't go back on your word, would you? Oh, how could that be? King Lonji's face was full of embarrassment. He said, This time I've come only to inquire about the Fire Element Province. The Fire Element Province is one of the 4 major provinces of the Empire. It was originally Marshal Bai Minghuan's fief. His Majesty wants me to ask, why did the Bai Zhe mercenaries seize the provinces of the Fire Element Province? Princess Yao, you must give me an explanation. Otherwise, I won't be able to report back to His Majesty. Oh, so it's like this. Si Kongyao turned around and returned to her throne. She smiled and said, This is what happened. The 400,000-strong army of the Celestial Empire passed through the Fire Element Province, burning and looting everywhere. For the safety of the people and the common people, I ordered the Bai Zhe mercenaries to pursue and kill them. However, the enemy was too strong and we lost every battle. In the end, we lost cities after cities. By the time the army of the Celestial Empire passed by, most of the cities in the Fire Element Province had already fallen. When I wanted to take back the cities, I realized that the Fire Element City had already been occupied by the Demon Spirit Army led by the Monster Emperor Nuslayer. However, the Empire's army was exhausted, and it was not a good time to start a war. Therefore, I decided to make peace with the Monster Emperor Nuslayer and temporarily let the Demon Spirit tribe live in the Fire Element Province. Borrow? King Lonji couldn't help but laugh. Since the ancient times there has never been such a ridiculous thing. How can you borrow a city? Moreover, Princess Yao has already lent a quarter of the territory of the Tianji Empire. How can there be such a method? Si Kongyao spread out her hands and smiled. Then I have no other choice. Anyway, there are 200,000 demon spirits living in the Fire Element City. Nusslayer will personally guard it. If King Lanji thinks that you have the ability to take back the Fire Element province, then go ahead. I see Kongyao will not interfere. The corner of King Lanji's mouth twitched a few times. The combat strength of the demon spirit tribe was obvious to everyone. It was impossible to destroy the 200,000 demon spirit army without double the military strength. Moreover, Si Kongyao wasn't just being an alarmist. Princess, how long have you lent the Fire Element province? King Lanji began to look for a way to maneuver. 1 year, Si Kongyao said. 1 year. King Lanji frowned and said, in that case 1 year it is. After 1 year, Commander Gong will naturally lead the Empire's army to the Fire Element province to take back the lost land. At that time, even if the demon spirits are unwilling, they can't do anything. Of course, Your Highness King Lanji didn't come to Shiping City just for this, right? Of course not. King Lanji gently waved her hand and said, come ask for His Majesty's Imperial Edict. An attendant respectfully walked forward with a golden scroll in his hands. Immediately, Liu Bai and the other generals of the Baizhe mercenary army knelt down one after another. Si Kongyao also knelt down on one knee on the steps, remaining silent. The attendant said in a clear voice, the Baizhe mercenary army is incomparably brave. They have broken through the enemy and seized the city, raising the national prestige. The Princess of Shiping, Si Kongyao, is both intelligent and brave. She can be called the treasure of the nation. However, the enemy has not been defeated yet. Recently, I heard that the Blackstone Empire has repeatedly wanted to invade our territory. Therefore, I order that Si Kongyao will lead the Baizhe mercenary army to attack the northern border of the Liaishan province. The Ministry of War will send 100,000 weapons, 50,000 sets of armor, and 1 million dawn of military provisions within 10 days. Once they arrive, the troops will be dispatched immediately without delay. Si Kongyao raised her head and said, I accept the imperial edict. Thank you. King Lanji smiled and said, His Majesty said that as long as the Princess of Shiping captures the land, she and the Baizhe mercenary army will be conferred the title of Shiping Princess. If the princess can really attack Qianshan City and conquer the capital of the Blackstone Empire, His Majesty will confer the title of Shiping Princess to her. She will be the first queen with a different surname in the celestial pole continent. It sounds very good. Si Kongyao raised the corner of her mouth and said, Your Highness, please go back and tell His Majesty that Si Kongyao will do her best to work for the Tianji Empire. However, please also ask His Majesty to deliver the supplies to us as soon as possible. Now, the Baizhe mercenary army lacks people, horses, weapons, and everything else. If His Majesty doesn't give us enough supplies, I'm afraid we won't be able to attack Qianshan City. Yes, I will tell His Majesty exactly what you said. Well, thank you. Tonight there will be a banquet in the Governor Mansion. Your Highness, please do me the honor. Thank you very much. When King Lanji and the others went to the courier house to rest, Si Kongyao gently waved her hand. A group of generals of the Baizhe mercenary army dispersed, and Lin Muyu, Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi also came out from the side hall. What should we do, brother Yu? Si Kongyao's elegant brows knit together slightly as she said, The Emperor wants me to attack the mountain range province. Isn't this forcing a duck onto a perch? Although the Bai's mercenaries can be considered a strong and well-trained army, attacking Xiuan's nest is tantamount to seeking one's own death. Let alone Xiuan, even the Thunderflame Sex Long she would not agree. Lin Muyu couldn't help laughing and said, You don't have any idea, but I see that you have a well-thought-out plan when you receive the imperial edict. I have to put on an act for others to see. Si Kongyao pouted and inadvertently revealed a girl next door look. She walked forward and pulled Lin Muyu's wrist, saying, No matter what, you, Sister Qin Yin and Sister Tang Xiaoxi, must think of a way before you leave the celestial pole mainland. There's a way. Oh? Say it. Say it. Lin Muyu said, You are far away from Tianji City. You don't need to worry about obeying the imperial edict. You can pretend to obey and cheat them of weapons and provisions. Then you can use all kinds of reasons to refuse to send troops. In fact, Tianji City can't do anything to you. What are the reasons to refuse? Do you still need me to teach you this? Come Yao, listen carefully. I will tell you 10,000 reasons. Insufficient weapons, too many soldiers who are not acclimatized to the climate, too many of them are sick, the city is in disrepair, mountain bandits are causing trouble in the provinces, insufficient provisions are prepared, there are rumors in the army that a mutiny is imminent, there are people in the imperial court who want to harm you, your grandfather Sikong is asking you to go back for a meal, the demon monarch's daughter is disloyal and you have to guard against her, the human traffickers are rampant in Shiping City and you have to deal with them, heroes have appeared in various prefectures and you have to recruit them, the grievances of the people need to be appeased, you are in a bad mood, your period is coming, you have a little mood, your appetite is not too good, you are too lazy to move around, the year is not good, it is raining. Lin Muyu rattled off a long list of reasons, which made Si Kongyao's jaw drop and she was dumbfounded. Alright, stop. Si Kongyao held Lin Muyu's wrist and said, Brother you are so awesome. Tang Xiaoxi giggled and said, when it comes to the cultivation of a wily old fox, this guy didn't have so many cunning ideas when he first came to Lanyan City. Look at him now, Xiao Yin, you don't even care about him. If you let him go on like this, how can we control him in the future? Qin Yin smiled faintly and said, I can't do anything about this. Just take it that he is smart. In fact, if this method was given to General Feng, he would have come up with more ideas. That's true, they are all wily old foxes. Lin Muyu smiled and said, Alright, don't be busy with personal attacks. It has been 2 months since we came to the celestial pole continent. I don't know if there are any unusual movements in Lanyan City recently. Let's have a good night's sleep tonight and return to Lanyan City early tomorrow morning. As for the celestial pole continent, I will leave it to Yao and Lu Bai. Si Kongyao nodded confidently and said, Well, don't worry, leave it to me. Then when will you come again, brother you? The next time you come. I'm afraid you will bring an army of 1 million. Oh, okay. Si Kongyao's eyes lit up and she smiled and said, Can brother you really conquer the heart of the celestial pole continent? Yes, if you conquer the celestial pole continent, you can be the queen of the whole celestial pole continent and pay taxes to Lanyan City every year. Queen, Si Kongyao smiled and said, I don't have much interest in being a queen, but if brother you wants Yao to be the queen then I will. But if you guys ascend to the immortal realm I will also go with you. Okay, it's a deal. The next morning Lin Muyu, Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi quietly left the celestial pole continent, as if they had never been there. However, Si Kongyao and the others knew that it was precisely because of Lin Muyu's arrival that Qinyu suffered a great defeat. It was just that Qinyu was currently in his own country, training his troops after suffering a humiliation, so he was completely unaware of this. Songnan Province, Silver Fir City. In spring, hundreds of flowers were in full bloom. This small city was as beautiful as a painting, but after repeated battles, plagues had spread. There were swarms of refugees in the city and many people were infected. The spiritual medicine department was short of manpower and medicine, so there was no time to save people. As a result, there were piles of white bones on the roadside, which was unbearable to look at. Outside the city, fragrant grass stretched to the sky. Many refugees were lying in the grass, moaning in pain. There were many types of plagues and each person's illness was different. As a result, the people of the spiritual medicine department were completely helpless. A white-robed young lady from the spiritual medicine department frowned slightly. After diagnosing an old man, her complexion became even more unsightly. Miss, is there no hope for me? The emaciated old man asked, panting heavily. No, there will be hope. The young lady stood up and said to the 2 apprentices of the spiritual medicine department, Prepare some 7 flavors soup. It might be able to cure them. The 2 apprentices nodded respectfully. Yes, Administrator Lan Yen. But at this moment a voice came from behind Lan Yen. 7 flavors soup is useless. This kind of plague that causes blood corruption can only be treated with marrow cleansing soup that purifies the blood. Ah. Lan Yen had followed Chu Yao for many years, but she had never heard of this marrow cleansing soup. When she turned to look at the person who spoke, she was instantly stunned. The woman who spoke was tall and slender. She wore a gray robe, but it could not hide her beauty that could cause the downfall of nations. The faint arrogance between her brows was also not something an ordinary woman could have. You are? Lan Yen asked. A traveling doctor, Xian. The blazing angel smiled gently, revealing a row of beautiful white teeth. Chapter 971. A traveling healer? Lan Yen frowned slightly. I've never heard of such a person in the empire. We only have the spirit medicine department and healers. I've never heard of a traveling healer. If a medicine store is a healer, then a person who carries medicine everywhere to save people is naturally a traveling healer. Xian smiled faintly. It was at this time that an apprentice flew up and whispered into Lan Yan's ear. Attendant Lan, I've heard of this traveling healer before. There are legends about her from Five Valley City to Silver Fir City. People say that a beautiful woman as beautiful as a goddess goes around saving lives, and that she can cure any ailment no matter what it is. This must be her. Lan Yan's eyes lit up. If that's the case, would Miss Xian be willing to work with our spirit medicine department to cure this plague? But Xian shook her head. No need, I'm used to doing things my own way. It's best if I don't get disturbed. I'll save my people, you guys save yours. Saying so, she turned to leave. Lan Yan hurriedly said, Wait a moment, Miss Xian. What is it? What is the recipe for this marrow cleansing soup you speak of? Many of the people here are suffering from this deadly disease. Without a cure, it will be difficult to suppress this plague in a short time. Seeing her sincerity, Xian smiled. The marrow cleansing soup is very simple. Boil the roots of purple serpent vine and the petals of peace bloom for 2 hours. Just purple serpent vine and peace bloom? Lan Yan bit her lip. One is a level 2 herb, the other a level 3 herb. It's not that hard to find. But it's difficult to cure so many people because there aren't that many herbs to pick. Xian stared at Lan Yan, speaking indifferently. The national treasuries are unwilling to allocate gold coins to buy herbs to treat the refugees. To the local authorities, refugees are a burden and might as well die. Miss, they call you attendant, so it seems that you're also one of the stewards. Do you have the authority to obtain herbs from the pharmacists in the various cities? It was obvious that this traveling doctor had been rejected many times. Lan Yan couldn't help but feel a little guilty. Don't worry, Miss Xian. I am one of the 12 deacons of the Imperial Spirit Medicine Department. My medallion is enough to command all the pharmacies in the area. As for the ingredients, I can use whatever they have. If you don't believe me, you can come with me to Silver Fir City. I've never brewed this marrow cleansing soup before. If you truly care about the people of the world, then please come with me. We will be brewing the soup in large cauldrons at the 4 city gates of Silver Fir City. This. Xian remained silent. What? Don't you want to save more people? Lan Yan asked. Xian pursed her lips. Actually, when she first came to the Shattered Cauldron realm, she was simply at a loss and didn't know what to do. After seeing so many refugees, she decided to play the role of a quack doctor for fun. However, after experiencing so many things in the past 2 months, Xian increasingly felt that she was leading a stable life. It turned out that saving people was more interesting than killing them. In that case, I'll come with you. But I'll leave once you learn how to brew the marrow cleansing soup. I'll be sure to listen to you when the time comes. Get on the horses and enter the city. Lan Yan led a group of 50 light cavalry. This cavalry was responsible for protecting the employees of the Spirit Medicine Department. After all, the aftermath of the war was extremely chaotic. Bandits were rampant, and medicinal ingredients were scarce and valuable. Those bandits were willing to do anything just to steal a few ingredients. Almost every Spirit Medicine Department deacon on patrol was accompanied by a group like this. With an army by their side, it was much more convenient. Inside Silver Fir City, Lan Yan led the army straight to the city lord's mansion. Everyone wore the insignia of Lan Yan City's Qin family, so naturally no one dared to stop them. That was until they saw a fat man dressed in official robes. This humble official, the governor of Silver Fir City, Zhou Xian, greets Deacon Lan Yan. The fat man cupped his hands in greeting. In truth, everyone in Silver Fir City knew that Zhou Xian was originally just a local medicine merchant. Silver Fir City was close to the 7-star forest and had an abundance of medicinal ingredients. It was through selling medicine that Zhou Xian had made a fortune. In the end, he had bought the title of Silver Fir City's city lord from a certain official of the parliament. Moreover, the status of the city lord of Silver Fir City was definitely above that of the Spirit Medicine Department's deacons. At the very least, they were equal, but Zhou Xian was extremely respectful towards them. There was no other reason for this. He knew Lan Yan because she was the Spirit Medicine Department's chief deacon Chu Yao, and Chu Yao was Lin Muyu and Qin Yin. A word from Lan Yan was probably worth more than 10,000 Jinying coins. The fat man raised his head and saw Xian behind Lan Yan. He couldn't help but frown. Why are you here again? Xian's eyes were indifferent and she didn't say a word. Lan Yan asked, What is it, Lord Zhang knows Miss Xian? Deacon, you may not know this, but for the past half a month, this woman has been coming to me every few days to ask for medicinal ingredients. She says that she wants to treat the refugees. How can there be so many people who want to be treated? She's clearly trying to swindle my medicinal ingredients and sell them for money. Has the city lord not left the city to take a look at the refugees outside? Lan Yan narrowed her beautiful eyes. It was obvious that Zhang Qian hadn't left the city to take a look. Lan Yan couldn't be bothered to waste her breath on him. Lord Zhang, how many medicinal ingredients do we have in Silver Fir City's storehouse? We have enough. Very good. Please give me 500 kilograms of purple serpent vine and 500 kilograms of peace bloom immediately. Also give me 40 cauldrons to boil medicine in. This. Zhang Qian was shocked. Using so many resources, I'm afraid. What are you afraid of? I will sign the receipt. Are you saying that the medicinal ingredients stored in Silver Fir City's storehouse are not meant to be used to save people? Lan Yan looked at the fatty with a burning gaze. If they are not, I will report it to Her Majesty the Empress. Oh no. Zhang Qian shook his head repeatedly. This lowly official will give them to the deacon. That's good. I will wait for you in the Spirit Medicine Department's tent outside the eastern city gates. Yes, this lowly official will make the arrangements immediately. Zhang Qian bowed deeply, but when he raised his head, he shot a venomous look at Xian. This woman was definitely the reason he had lost such a large fortune. If he had sold off these medicinal ingredients, he would have earned thousands of Jinying coins at the very least. Xian, on the other hand, was extremely calm. She looked back at Zhang Qian without a ripple in her eyes. By dusk, the medicinal soup had already begun to be boiled at the 4 city gates. Lan Yan and Xian personally distributed bowls of soup to the refugees, one for each person. It was more than enough to cure the plague of the deadly blood plague. They busied themselves until late at night. By then, most of the refugees had drunk the medicine, and many of their conditions had rapidly improved. Lan Yan arranged for Xian to stay in the most remote tent in the Spirit Medicine Department because Xian didn't want to be disturbed. Xian would leave at daybreak and she didn't want to be tied down by anyone. In the middle of the night, Xian lay peacefully in the tent. Her divine power had dried up, but her spirit sense and consciousness were still there. She could even hear the sound of the spring rain nourishing all living things. It was so real. It had been many years since she had been so close to the earth. Xian suddenly felt her heart calm down. Hugging the warm quilt, she curled up like a cute shrimp and slept soundly. After an unknown amount of time, a flurry of footsteps suddenly came from the distance. Xian abruptly woke up. Her consciousness had sensed a murderous aura. This murderous aura was coming from the direction of Silver Fir City, and there were quite a few of them. Could they be coming for me? Suddenly, Xian recalled Zhang Qian's venomous gaze during the day. That's right, it must be him. Sitting up from the bed, she calmly put on her clothes and put on the gray cloak that she bought with 4 silver coins. Then she raised her hand and gripped her sword, Burning Moon. Crash. The flaps to the small tent were suddenly lifted open, revealing the face of a black-faced man. The moment he saw Xian, he immediately thrust his sword forward without even a greeting. But after a muffled grunt, he took several steps back and fell to the ground. There was a bloody hole in his neck. His throat had been pierced by a sword. Damn it! The other dozen or so people had ashen faces. When they looked up, they saw Xian slowly walking out of the tent. You want to kill me? Xian smiled. That's right. You ruined my plans and now you've killed one of my men. I had wanted to take you as a concubine, but it looks like I can't keep you around anymore. The one who spoke was a fatty dressed in bulky armor. It didn't take a genius to know that it was Zhang Qian. Zhang Qian was a merchant, and not only was he greedy for profit, but he was also lustful. There was no doubt that a top-grade mature lady like Xian was fatally attractive, but Xian had been so decisive in killing him just now. Although the fatty was lustful, he was still deadly. Go. Kill her. A group of bodyguards disguised as assassins charged forward. Although Xian had lost her divine power, her swordsmanship and mental cultivation were still there. Blazing Moon began to hum in her hand. Just who was she? She was a blazing angel of the god realm, and her will was unwavering. Good people must be saved and bad people must be killed. Blazing moon swung out, its edge releasing countless rays of light. It was Xian's 7 slashes. Split. Blood splattered everywhere. Xian might not be a match for a god realm or even a saint realm expert, but against these mortals who were at most in the earth realm, she was simply a crushing existence. As soon as Blazing Moon appeared, more than 10 people died tragically in an instant. Zhou Xian was horrified and he turned around to leave without thinking. But how could he leave? Xian caught up with him as fast as lightning, and Blazing Moon went straight through Zhou Qian's heart. Murder, murder. A group of bodyguards retreated in a panic. In the blink of an eye, torches were raised on the official road, and the cavalry in the city was actually already there. White drill arrows were pointed straight at Xian and everyone was ready to fight. Xian was silent and her heart was a little perturbed. Was she going to fail miserably here? These white drill arrows were quite powerful and she had already experienced them from a hunter. At this moment a voice rang out, "Stop." The person who spoke was Lan Yen, a deacon from the spiritual medicine department in the capital.